The story begins with Sojiro Sakagami, a 16-year-old high school student exhausted as he climbs a long, steep hill. He grumbles quietly, annoyed that his school is built in such an inconvenient place. Rumor has it the founder loved high places, but Sojiro just thinks that was a dumb idea. As he struggles upward, he figures he'll be fashionably late. Suddenly, a girl races past him on a bicycle. He's shocked that anyone could ride a bike up such a steep hill with such ease. She stops ahead, looks back, and casually calls out to him. She guesses he's a second year and tells him to hop on the bike. They're both going to be late. Sojiro hesitates, but then climbs on. As they ride, he apologizes and promises to repay her somehow. She waves it off, saying it's no big deal, and proudly adds she's as strong as an ox. Her confidence catches him off guard, but he doesn't ask questions. Instead, he notices her skirt. It's shorter than the school standard. He remembers that third years sometimes modify their uniforms like that. Curious how she knew his year, he's about to ask, but she brushes the question aside. He checks his phone and sees they're already late. Once they reach the school, he buys her a soda from the vending machine as thanks. She smiles, accepts it, and apologizes again for not getting there sooner. Sojiro reassures her. It's fine, even if they only catch the second period. He watches her carefully, wondering if she's a third year or maybe a transfer student. Then, out of the blue, she brushes her bangs aside and shyly asks if he has any friends. The question throws him off, but he eventually says he has a few. She doesn't say much in response. Instead, she says she's good at divination. That surprises him. The more she talks, the more mysterious she seems. With a chuckle, she explains how her fortune-telling often scares people away. Her friends leave after she reads their fortunes, like it's a curse. She shares a story about someone who asked for a compatibility reading. The result was so bad that she gave weird advice. That person never came back. Sojiro is shocked. He asks why she would say something like that and expect people to stay. She changes the topic and offers to tell his fortune. She asks if anything's bothering him. When he doesn't answer, she teases that he just wants her to leave. Sojiro laughs and awkwardly admits he wants a girlfriend, an older one. Her face shifts into something he can't describe. Confused? Horrified? He tries to laugh it off with a joke, but it doesn't land. Frustrated, he asks if it's really that wrong to be interested in someone older. Instead of answering, she rolls her bangs back and asks to see his hand. He gives it to her, thinking maybe she doesn't dislike him after all. Then his eyes drift to her half-unbuttoned shirt. But before he can get lost in thought, she looks at his palm and smiles. "As I thought," she says, "you're destined to be with someone younger than you." She adds confidently that it won't be long before he gets a girlfriend, and she'll be a kuhai, a younger student. Sojiro is confused. He doesn't feel like he connects with younger girls. Before he can respond, she tells him it's already been decided, then walks away. She says he's welcome to visit the divination club anytime. As she leaves, Sojiro watches her go, thinking about how strange but interesting she is. He realizes he never even asked for her name. Meanwhile, the girl, Inuki Asuka, arrives in her own classroom. The teacher scolds her for being late on the first day. She blames it on a flat bike tire, classic excuse, but her mind stays on Sojiro and his wish for an older girlfriend. She remembers the fortune she read and decides to keep her own year level a secret from him, for now. Even though she tries to brush it off, she finds herself blushing when she thinks about his reactions. She tells herself it doesn't bother her, but it clearly does. Later, Sojiro decides to find the divination club and meet that strange girl again. He stares at the club board. It's a mess and doesn't look official at all. Still, he steps inside. Inside, he finds Mizuki chewing on bread. She turns to him with a neutral face. "Can I eat in here?" he asks. She swallows and snaps, "Who the hell are you?" Shocked, Sojiro stares at her. "You don't remember me." After a moment, she smirks and says she was just joking. Across the room, Sojiro is overwhelmed with emotion. Almost tearing up, he pulls out a chair and sits down across from Mizuki, asking if she always eats lunch alone. Mizuki shrugs and says she has no friends. So yeah, this is normal. As Sojiro settles in front of her, she narrows her eyes. "Why are you sitting there?" she asks sharply. He casually replies, "I just wanted to have lunch with my beloved senpai, that's all." Mizuki smirks. "Smooth talker, aren't you?" Then she slightly teases, "Not to brag, but I am adorable." Sojiro raises an eyebrow. "It's kind of weird to compliment yourself, isn't it?" Mizuki suddenly stands up, grabs him by the chin and leans in. "Say that again to my face if you dare." Panicked, Sojiro throws up his hands. Okay. You're undeniably cute," he blurts out. Mizuki blushes for a second, but regains her composure. She pulls out a crystal ball, announcing it's time for a special divination. Sojiro watches, thinking maybe she's just shy about compliments. But then he notices how awkwardly she's holding the ball. He silently predicts something bad is going to happen. Sure enough, It slips from her hands and shatters on the floor. Mizuki stares at the broken pieces in shock, her expression dark. Instead of crying, she dramatically points at Sojiro. "This is your fate," she declares, then mutters that she might as well go home. But before she leaves, she spins around, grabs his neck, and shouts, "It's pathetic that you can't change your own fate. My reading is absolute." Sojiro, flustered, yells, "Wait, are you trying to break my neck too?" He then blurts out, "I can feel your body pressed against me," which makes the moment even more chaotic. Mizuki freezes, realizing what he just said. Then, to his shock, she hugs him tighter with a dreamy look, dying in a cute girl's arms. That's every guy's dream, right? Sojiro mentally disagrees. "Nope, not me." He shouts that they should clean up instead. Mizuki lets go and agrees, saying the advisor will be mad if they leave the mess. As Sojiro watches her pick up glass with her bare hands, he mutters that she must eat gorillas for breakfast to be that strong. Unbothered, Mizuki kneels and continues cleaning. When she tries to grab a sharp shard, Sojiro grabs her hand and pulls it away. "Don't do reckless stuff like that," he says seriously. "This is the guy's job." Moved by his sincerity, Mizuki blushes. After a pause, she quietly agrees and turns away to hide her face. "Well, at least you're taking responsibility now. Thanks." While helping clean up, Sojiro accidentally cuts himself. Mizuki grabs his hand to check the injury. Then, without warning, she makes his bloody thumb touch a piece of paper. "What are you doing?" Sojiro cries. "I'm using your blood to make a seal for the club," she says calmly. He freaks out. "Are you insane?" She sighs, saying, "This is just the kind of club I run." Surprisingly, Sojiro responds, "You know what? I don't hate it." Mizuki grins and agrees. Sojiro silently wonders how he's ended up in such a bizarre situation. Before he can think more, she grabs his hand again and licks his wound. "Magic healing," she says casually, walking toward the door. "I'll go submit our club application." Sojiro stands there, dumbfounded. What kind of rabbit hole have I fallen into? Meanwhile, Mizuki walks down the hall, cheeks red and giddy. She's thrilled she got his thumbprint. The next day, Sojiro is getting ready for school. The TV plays in the background. It's a perfect day to go out. Now it's time for Namazu Senpai's fortune corner. Hearing that, Sojiro mutters, "I still don't know my senpai's name." Just then, someone scolds him from behind. "Can't you at least put your dirty clothes in the basket?" a girl says. He groans and agrees, asking her to tone down the yelling this early. She snaps back, "I'll stop when you grow up." Sojiro claims he's the definition of maturity. The news continues in the background as he heads to school. At the divination club room, Sojiro drops into a chair and tells his senpai to start with the basics. "Like your name." Mizuki, holding a box with a strange object inside, dodges the question. "Why? What do you want to know? My shoe size." "If you're offering, I'd prefer something else," Sojiro jokes. She stands up but slips slightly. Sojiro glances at her shoes and suddenly notices. They're first-year slippers. He freezes. "Wait, these are first-year slippers." Mizuki panics. I didn't know we had a door over there." "What are you talking about?" Sojiro asks, confused. Scrambling for an excuse, she blurts out, "I knew they were first-year slippers. I just like the color." Sojiro stares at her, stunned. "You're a first year?" Mizuki sighs and finally admits, "I'm a repeater." Sojiro leaps up and apologizes, not sure what to say. "You repeated a whole year?" Mizuki smiles faintly, but it fades when Sojiro mutters, That explains why you're kind of lacking." Back in the club room, Mizuki, nearly in tears, snaps that repeating a year has nothing to do with not having friends, and she finds Sojiro's comment insulting. Sojiro panics. He realizes he said the wrong thing. Desperate to change the subject, he reminds her she still hasn't told him her name. Mizuki waves it off and says her name is Pai. Sojiro blinks. "You really say the most random things." She smirks and jokes that there's nothing to say about her. Not her name, not even her race. Sojiro stares at her, shocked. "Wait, what do you mean by race? Are you even human?" Mizuki grins, replying, "My name is Senpai, my race is unknown." Frustrated, Sojiro wonders if she's really okay saying things that weird. In response, Mizuki waves the club application papers in his face and tells him to just join already. He takes them reluctantly, but instead of filling them out, he suddenly grabs her hand. Her eyes widen in shock, and she quickly pulls her hand back. "Did you bring an umbrella today?" she asks. "No," Sojiro says. "The weather forecast said it'd be sunny." Mizuki twists her hair between her fingers and tells him to stop by the shoe rack after school. She has something for him. Sojiro looks out the window, wondering what she's up to. Suddenly, smack. She hits him on the head, telling him to stop mumbling and to follow her. Startled, he asks what she meant by something. Smirking, Mizuki says it's an umbrella, with her included. Sojiro freezes, staring in disbelief. This girl's an idiot, he thinks. She opens the umbrella, inviting him to share it with her, even offering to go wherever he wants. Embarrassed, he steps under it, trying not to let his thoughts get ahead of him. He asks why she didn't bike to school today. Blushing, Mizuki mumbles that senpai takes the bus when it rains. Sojiro jokes that she sounds like a snake when he calls her senpai. So naturally, he keeps calling her that, just to annoy her. At the bus stop, Mizuki asks if he's taking the bus too. He nods, saying he'll ride it partway home. She holds out her hand. "Give me the umbrella back." He hands it over. She smiles and says, "See you at school tomorrow," and starts to walk away. Sojiro blinks. "Wait, don't forget your stop." Mizuki glances back, still smiling. "Don't catch a cold." Then she walks off, leaving Sojiro stunned. He stands there, feeling completely lost. What was that? He wonders. He even thought about seeing her off like some kind of gentleman, but now he's annoyed with himself. Meanwhile, Mizuki reflects on her lie, that she's a high school repeater. She can't believe Sojiro actually believed it. Why is she working so hard to keep up the act? She sighs, remembering that Sojiro said he likes older girls. That's why she lied. She didn't want him to think less of her. Mizuki blushes in frustration as she remembers eating lunch together and sharing the umbrella on the way home. The memory sends a chill down her spine. As the sun rises, she quietly folds up her umbrella and decides, "I'll stay as senpai. For now." Ubayashi confidently walks up to Sojiro, saying he'll figure out his personality. He shows Sojiro some pictures and asks what kind of girl he likes. After a short pause, Sojiro picks option C with a small smile. Ubayashi dramatically announces that Sojiro likes girls with big boobs. Embarrassed, Sojiro doesn't know what to say. Just then, Mizuki walks by. She gently tugs on Sojiro's shirt to get his attention. He turns to her and asks if she's going to a different classroom, but Mizuki stays quiet, staring at him. Curious, Ubayashi asks if she's Sojiro's friend. Sojiro explains she's a third-year student and introduces them. Ubayashi, being polite, reaches out to shake her hand, but Mizuki hides behind Sojiro. He looks back at her, confused. Ubayashi jokes, asking if she thinks he's suspicious. Sojiro lightly says Mizuki is like a small animal, trying to make her feel more comfortable. Ubayashi offers her candy, saying it's not weird. Mizuki finally speaks, her voice soft but clear, and says no to the candy. Both boys are surprised. Ubayashi quickly offers a deal. If Mizuki becomes his friend, he'll tell her a secret about Sojiro. Sojiro immediately says no, but Mizuki peeks out, curious. Ubayashi leans closer and whispers that Sojiro likes big boobs. Mizuki narrows her eyes and asks Sojiro if it's true. Caught off guard, he nervously says yes. To his surprise, Mizuki proudly says hers are big too, waiting to see his reaction. When asked more, he shyly admits he likes them. Instead of getting mad, Mizuki smiles and says he's honest. Not wanting to be left out, Ubayashi brags about himself and tries to give Mizuki candy again, but she politely refuses. Suddenly, Sojiro remembers Mizuki is a fortune teller. He looks at Ubayashi, and Mizuki confirms her readings are usually accurate. Ubayashi gets excited. Sojiro thinks for a moment. Her readings often involve actions. Are they affected by what you do? He remembers Mizuki gives readings through touch, but hasn't seen her do a palm reading. Mizuki quietly tells Ubayashi to show his hand. He does, and after looking at it, she suddenly says, "You're going to die soon." Both boys freeze. Ubayashi stares at Sojiro and asks if he's really going to die. Mizuki jokes about carving his lifeline with a chisel. Then she tells Sojiro he dropped his notebook. Flustered, he tries to get her to go back to fortune-telling, but Mizuki leans in with a serious look. Panicking, he blurts out that he was thinking about her chest, then quickly adds he meant she often leaves her shirt buttons undone. Mizuki looks down, then back up, realizing he made things worse. Sojiro goes pale. Mizuki gets even closer and whispers that she'll do it in the club room. Shocked, Sojiro jumps back and nervously asks what she means. Just then, the school bell rings. Mizuki walks off, telling him not to forget to come to the club room later, giving him a playful nickname as she leaves. Sojiro watches her, confused. Turning back to Ubayashi, he says they should go. Ubayashi, still thinking about the fortune, gives Sojiro a weird nickname. Annoyed, Sojiro tells him to stop. He's thinking. Then he reminds Ubayashi they have to turn in their essays. They both suddenly remember. Ubayashi panics, asking what's going to happen. Sojiro sighs and says his grades are going to fail. Ubayashi gasps. Mizuki's fortune was right. Trying to calm him down, Sojiro says he was also surprised at first. In the club room, Mizuki reads Sohiro's palm, explaining the meaning of the lines. Sohiro doesn't seem impressed and says he's been thinking about something. Her readings don't always match up. Then he suddenly asks if he can read her palm. Mizuki shrugs and agrees. Sojiro takes her hand, looks at it carefully, and says she has many sixth sense lines. Mizuki raises an eyebrow and says he knows a lot about fortune-telling. Sojiro admits he just looked it up online. Smirking, he says he might be better than her soon. Mizuki quickly pulls her hand back, smiling mischievously, and suggests they play a betting game instead. The scene changes to Sojiro's sister, Ren, who comes home and sees a pile of bread. She asks their mom about it. Their mom says Sojiro bought it. Ren asks where he is, and her mom says he's in the bath. She adds that Sojiro said they could eat the bread if they wanted. Later, Sojiro comes out and asks where the bread is. Ren is confused and asks why he's making a big deal. It's too early for lunch or dinner. He seriously asks if she knows what happened to the bread. Ren, looking nervous, lies and says she doesn't know. Then she asks why he's acting weird about bread. Sojiro gives her a sharp look and asks why she's being so polite all of a sudden. Then it hits him. The meaning of Mizuki's fortune and their bet. Ren looks confused at first, then realizes it's part of a fortune game. The story jumps back to an earlier moment, where Mizuki is explaining the rules of their game. The weather doesn't matter. What matters is that the winner will be the one who correctly guesses what will happen tomorrow. Sojiro asks what the loser has to do. Mizuki cleverly says that the loser has to do whatever the winner says. Sojiro is surprised and asks if she really means anything. Mizuki confidently says yes, and even lets him decide what they should bet on. They agree to guess what Sojiro will eat for lunch tomorrow. He mentions that he usually cooks it himself. Mizuki is amused. She didn't expect him to pick something so simple. She playfully pokes his forehead, says she's already won, and reveals that tomorrow's lunch will be rice. Sojiro panics. Rice is exactly what he was planning, even though he had bought a bunch of bread. Back in the present, Ren tries to calm him down, pointing out that they still have rice. But Sojiro, clearly upset, questions her seriousness and starts to tear up. To comfort him, Ren offers to scrub his back when he gets home. He gives her a suspicious glare and asks if she ate all the bread. Ren quickly shakes her head and says she doesn't know what he's talking about. He accuses her of lying, saying she doesn't normally talk like that. Ren, trying to cover her tracks, says it doesn't matter, because she loves her brother. Sojiro mumbles that it's not surprising at all. She pouts, insisting she didn't take the bread and would never lie about it. Sojiro sighs, pats her head, and tells her not to worry. She immediately tells him to stop, calling him weird. Then Sojiro says that because she took the bread, all they'll have for lunch tomorrow is rice. At school the next day, Sojiro grumpily tells Mizuki that she was right, and she won. Mizuki smiles proudly and says she already knew. She adds that now he can't claim he'll ever beat her at fortune-telling. Sojiro rolls his eyes and asks if that's what she was so worried about. Then Mizuki reminds him it's time for his punishment. Sojiro quickly cuts in and says she can't ask for anything weird. She laughs and tells him all she wants is for him to officially join her club, and she won't take no for an answer. Sojiro, not bothered, takes the form from her. Curious, she asks what he would have made her do if she had lost. He hesitates, then says he was hoping she'd tell him her real name. He sighs, saying his sister ruined his chance to win and find out the truth. Touched by his honesty, Mizuki says she'll tell him her name anyway. Sojiro's eyes widen, and he gets emotional, but she still won't tell him directly. She rolls her eyes, calls him annoying, then grabs his face, pulls him closer, and says her name is Mizuki Isuka, and that she'll be in his care from now on. Sojiro, stunned, asks if she just called him by name, and calls her Mizuki Senpai. She corrects him and says he should call her Asuka Senpai instead. Sojiro stubbornly keeps calling her Mizuki Senpai. They go back and forth until Mizuki, frustrated, punches him in the face. He groans in pain, hides his face, and mutters that he's not done yet. Then, building his courage, he softly calls her Asuka. Mizuki freezes, her face turning red. She stammers, asking if it's not too early for that. Sojiro dramatically collapses to the floor, leaving her shocked. She quickly runs over and asks if he's okay, but Sojiro, still on the floor, casually waves her off and says he's fine. Later, an old teacher notices Sojiro and asks if he's looking for a fortune-telling club advisor. He says that's unusual, since the club is kind of strange. Leaning in, he quietly tells Sojiro to talk to Tsukimi-sensei. Just as he says the name, someone nearby turns. Tsukimi herself. She looks at Sojiro and asks if he wants her to teach him. With a smirk, she walks over and sarcastically wonders if he's here to complain about her messy hair again. The teacher bluntly says he does have a problem with Tsukimi, her hair, clothes, and work ethic. Basically everything. But he brushes it off and says Sojiro's here for her, not him. Watching Tsukimi, Sojiro thinks she's strange. She notices him staring and gives him a questioning look. He hands her a club registration form and explains why he's there. Tsukimi briefly glances at the form and leads him outside. As they walk, she casually asks what this is all about. Sojiro, a bit confused, realizes she hasn't really understood yet. Then it clicks. She gets that he's here to join. With a playful wink, she jokes, "You didn't come all this way to propose, did you?" Then adds she wouldn't blame him. She knows she's attractive. Flustered, Sojiro thinks she weirdly reminds him of senpai. Tsukimi teases him, asking if he joined because of Asuka's body. He quickly denies it, but she just laughs, spins around, and teasingly calls him Aoni. When he corrects her, she turns back, a little embarrassed but still insists on the question. Sojiro wonders what's wrong with this school. Tsukimi smirks, saying no high schooler joins such a strange club unless they have a hidden reason. Sojiro hesitates, then explains that yes, the club was weird at first, but the mystery behind it drew him in. Even if senpai were a guy, he'd still have joined. It just seems fun. Tsukimi taps her fingers, thinking. She admits she hadn't planned on recruiting today. Just then, someone nearby murmurs Sojiro's name, distracting him. Seizing the moment, Tsukimi snatches the form, opens the door, and announces that he's officially registered. With a small smile, she says that despite how she seems, Asuka does have a weakness, and she promises to support Sojiro. But she warns him, don't open the cabinet in the club room. Sojiro looks skeptical. Senpai, who's always so confident, has a weakness? Just then, he spots her frantically trying to catch a butterfly. When she sees him, she panics and yells for help. The butterfly's too close. Shockingly, she's waving a wooden sword at it. The butterfly lands on the blade, and she jumps straight into Sojiro's arms. Flustered, he tries to say how awkward this is, and in that moment, Sojiro realizes his reason for joining the club has changed. Mizuki trembles, repeating that the butterfly is going to kill her. Meanwhile, Sojiro, overwhelmed, admits to himself that he doesn't hate this. But isn't this kind of bad? Trying to act cool, he carefully catches the butterfly and tosses it outside. Smirking, he asks, "Did I look cool?" Mizuki replies bluntly, "You did, until you said that line." Still confused, Sojiro asks if she's really scared of bugs. Mizuki shakes her head and says she even talks to them on her days off. Suddenly, Tsukimi appears behind them and sarcastically says that sounds fun. Her tone shifts as she places a hand on Mizuki's head and asks if she messed with the cabinet. Mizuki freaks out and denies it, but Tsukimi narrows her eyes and points at the wooden sword. Sojiro watches Mizuki. She looks really nervous. Tsukimi turns to him and asks if he disobeyed her too. He quickly denies it. Sighing, Tsukimi tells Mizuki to return the furniture. Mizuki agrees and grabs boxes to tidy up. As she walks toward a table, she spots another butterfly. Her eyes go wide with fear, and she freaks out again. Tsukimi yells at Sojiro to stop her. He rushes forward and grabs Mizuki before she can go wild. Watching them, Tsukimi laughs and asks if his talk with the butterfly went well. Red-faced, Mizuki demands to be let go. Tsukimi smirks and asks if they were bitten. She's seen it happen before. Shocked, Sojiro asks what she means. Bitten by a butterfly? Tsukimi explains that someone was affected the last time the cabinet was opened, glancing knowingly at Mizuki. Just then, Sojiro notices a weird blister forming on his hand. Panicked, he shows them. Tsukimi, completely unfazed, just tells him to sleep it off. Sojiro shouts in disbelief. Mizuki pats his shoulder and thanks him for helping her. But Sojiro yells that he doesn't want to die. After that, poor Sojiro develops a serious fear of bugs and spends the next 2 days stuck in bed from the mystery blister. Before going to school, Sojiro listened to the news. It said Sagittarius would have bad luck today. He sighed and said, "That sucks." Just then, Mizuki came out of her room, yawning. He closed the door and told her he was leaving. As soon as he stepped outside, his foot slipped and he slammed into a tree. His lemon tea spilled all over his head. Later, when he got to school, Mizuki noticed how messy he looked. She asked if he was having a bad day. Sojiro sighed and said, "Everyone has days like this." He admitted he looked terrible. Mizuki grabbed his tie, asked what was wrong with his clothes, and tried to fix them. Sojiro casually said he just had bad luck today. But when Mizuki didn't seem impressed, he quickly apologized for sounding negative. As Mizuki walked off, Sojiro noticed something strange. His tie was missing. He spotted it around Mizuki's neck. She simply said that helping people was her club's top goal. While fixing his hair, she teased him about his jeans. In the end, Sojiro was left shocked, comparing his hair to a pile of fertilizer. He yelled, wondering what she was doing to it. Mizuki smirked and said a little makeover didn't hurt during times like this. Sojiro agreed, thinking maybe she was right. Just then, something hit him hard on the head. He shouted in pain. Some boys by a window apologized and asked if anyone got hurt. Sojiro told them he was fine, but they laughed and teased him about his weird hairstyle. Sojiro clenched the ball in anger, upset by his bad luck. Mizuki looked at him and said maybe the makeover wasn't enough. She smirked, and Sojiro asked what else she had in mind. A moment later, loud, excited sounds came from the room. Sojiro stepped out, now dressed like a punk straight from a host club. Mizuki burst into laughter at his new look. On the other side, Sojiro thought Mizuki was just playing with him. Through her laughs, Mizuki told him that earlier she had seen a kitten. When she went near it, lots of funny things had happened. She kept laughing, and even though Sojiro felt embarrassed, he was happy she was having fun. After a while, Mizuki calmed down and acted normal again. Sojiro asked if he could give her a makeover too. She agreed. Once she sat down, he started styling her hair. After a bit, she took off her jacket and asked him what he was doing. He said he was just taking a photo of his work. As he looked at her, she suddenly pulled him closer. Sojiro stared in shock. She said they should take a photo together. He agreed and took out his phone. As he tried to snap the picture, she tapped his hand, making things feel awkward. Worried, he asked if she was okay. She said she was fine. After taking the picture, Sojiro looked at it and thought he might use it as his phone wallpaper. He smiled at how relaxed they looked. Mizuki said she was going to lock up. He offered to close the windows for her. As he did, he said he thought his bad luck was finally over. Mizuki looked at him and asked if that meant she was the one who made him happy. Sojiro froze, wondering if she was proposing to him. Then Mizuki asked straight out if he was proposing to her. Shocked, he slipped on a ball. Mizuki caught him, and his head landed against her chest. In a panic, Sojiro realized he was too quick to think his bad luck had ended. Mizuki smirked and playfully asked if she brought him joy. Locking eyes with her, Sojiro quietly admitted that yes, she did. He knew deep down that he could have avoided this mess if he had really tried. Meanwhile, Mizuki felt her heart racing and wondered why it was beating so fast. Blushing, she stared at him. Sojiro awkwardly asked when she planned to let him go. His voice was shaky. The next day, Mizuki showed Sojiro her new swimsuit and asked for his opinion, but all he could focus on was how she looked in it. She explained that it was a hand-me-down and felt a bit loose. In a burst of awkwardness, Sojiro blurted out, "Are they fake?" She shot him a sharp look, wondering what he meant. Flustered, Sojiro quickly said he was talking about the swimsuit's age and fit, not her chest. With a playful smile, Mizuki confirmed that her chest was very real. She warned him that if the swimsuit slipped, things could get awkward. Totally flustered, Sojiro stammered that he would introduce himself first, then realized what he had just said. As soon as the words left his mouth, he froze in regret. Trying to cover it up, he quickly changed the subject, looking around and asking if this was the shop she mentioned. Mizuki nodded and told him to think of it as an out-of-school activity for the divination club. As Sojiro sat down to wait, Mizuki started trying on swimsuits. After a while, she stepped out wearing one and confidently asked his opinion. Keeping a straight face, he said it looked bold. Mizuki paused, confused, and asked him to explain. When he repeated himself, she huffed and went back inside to change. She tried on several more swimsuits, asking what he thought each time, but every time Sojiro just said the same word, bold. Getting annoyed, Mizuki clenched her fists. Sensing her frustration, Sojiro quickly apologized, admitting he was just joking. Inside, he thought about how great she looked in all the swimsuits and how cute she seemed every time. Expecting her to get mad, he braced himself, but instead Mizuki calmly adjusted his collar. She then said she would buy all of the swimsuits. As he watched her, Sojiro noticed how happy she seemed whenever he called her cute. When she came back, he asked why she didn't buy the school swimsuit like she had planned. Mizuki looked confused. He joked that her memory must be tiny, like 5 megabytes, if she had forgotten already. Embarrassed, she admitted she had never planned to go to the beach before because she had no one to go with. As they walked off together, Mizuki suddenly turned around with a big smile. She proudly told Sojiro that she had won this year, saying their summer at Hadad would be even more exciting. Sojiro smiled back, saying it looked like a busy summer was ahead for her. Mizuki playfully asked if he'd be up for more shopping, and he happily agreed, saying it would be fun. They visited many shops, bought clothes and accessories, and even took a photo together while drinking bubble tea. At the end of the day, Mizuki thanked him for coming along. Caught in the moment, Sojiro said it felt like they'd been on an after-school date, but Mizuki quickly teased him, reminding him it was just a club activity. With a sigh, he joked that they looked more like a couple dating for 3 months. Mizuki laughed and said there was nothing wrong with that. Then she asked if he was free afterward, since they still had some time. Sojiro smiled and reminded her she had already taken him on a date. Checking his phone, he noticed he had to make dinner soon, so he would need to go home shortly. Out of nowhere, Mizuki complained that her hands hurt from carrying all the shopping bags. She stopped for a second, then her face brightened with an idea. Curious, Sojiro asked what was on her mind. With a smile, she said her house had cockroaches and asked if he could help her get rid of them. Sojiro paused and asked if she really wanted him to come over. He joked about using a cockroach to tell fortunes, making her glare at him as she demanded to know if he was making fun of her. Flustered, he stuttered that going to her house didn't seem like a good idea. It felt strange in many ways. Mizuki, confused, asked what was so bad about it. Panicking, he insisted it was fine and told himself to just accept it. As Mizuki let out a deep sigh, Sojiro finally agreed. He looked at her, trying to clear his anxious thoughts, gently tapping his face to stay focused. He reminded himself he could handle it. Watching him, Mizuki joked that he sometimes really scared her. Later, she asked her mom when dinner would be ready, only to get scolded for calling her brother like that. Her mom reassured her that she trusted Sojiro to behave properly since he was also a student. At Mizuki's apartment, Sojiro noticed the room looked untouched. It felt odd that she invited him over and then went to take a shower. While putting away groceries, he found the fridge completely empty. That made him wonder if she really lived alone. He remembered Mizuki claiming she lived by herself and cooked simple meals. She had gone to take a bath. When she came out of the shower, they argued about her actions before she went to change. She reminded him he'd already seen her in a swimsuit before. He mumbled that she always overreacted about everything and stepped away. From inside, Mizuki heard clattering in the kitchen and called out to ask what he was doing. Casually, Sojiro answered that he had started cooking dinner. Even though he hesitated at first, his body moved by instinct. Mizuki shrugged and said she didn't mind. She added that he could be surprisingly confident sometimes. Looking confused, Sojiro met her eyes as she patted him on the back, teasing him about showing off. Annoyed, he muttered under his breath that she was a pain and asked where the plates were. Mizuki grabbed them and said she bought those plates just for him. Sojiro stared at her. Surprised, she was 2 years older than him. Shaking off the thought, he told her to start her homework. Mizuki grinned and sarcastically asked if he was her mom now. Ignoring her, Sojiro kept cooking. But Mizuki stayed nearby, watching him closely. Her constant staring annoyed him, and he finally told her she was acting like a child. He patted her head and asked if she wanted to help. She gave him a sharp look and warned him to stop treating her like a kid, or she'd hurt him. He told her to cut the tofu. Mizuki got a knife, and Sojiro nervously watched her. Seeing how she held it, he quickly stopped her and reminded her to curl her fingers to stay safe. Gently taking her hand, he showed her the right way. Their eyes met briefly before Mizuki grumbled that he really was bossy. Sojiro apologized and said he just wanted her to be safe. With a small grin, Mizuki teased that right now he was scarier than the knife. Suddenly, the rice cooker beeped. Sojiro turned to it and announced that the rice was ready. He was amazed at how fast modern cookers worked. Mizuki smiled softly but didn't say anything. Once the food was done, Sojiro served it and told her to eat. They ate together, and Mizuki lit up after her first bite. She said the food was delicious. Sojiro casually mentioned he often cooked at home, saying it was no big deal. But Mizuki kept praising his skills, making him smile with relief. He was happy she enjoyed it. He complimented her tofu cutting, and Mizuki proudly said it was perfect because she was awesome. Sojiro chuckled. As he looked outside, he noticed it had gotten late. He realized he might have stayed too long and said he should leave. Mizuki offered her spare futon if he wanted to stay, but he kindly said no. He needed to get home. She looked confused and asked if she'd said something wrong. Sojiro reassured her she hadn't and said he would still leave even if she wanted him to stay. Mizuki pointed out that she didn't have any umbrellas for him. He brushed it off, saying it wasn't raining. But the moment he opened the door, a heavy rain poured down. He stood there, shocked. Mizuki chuckled with a playful smirk and told him, jokingly serious, that there was no way he was leaving now. Sojiro turned to her, looking uneasy as she firmly shut the door behind him. The rain kept pouring outside. He asked Mizuki for an umbrella, but she refused, saying no umbrella could handle this storm. He thought about calling his dad, but his father wouldn't be home tonight. Determined, Sojiro said he'd leave anyway, but Mizuki softly called his name, making him stop. She admitted it had been a long time since she shared a meal with someone. She asked him to stay a little longer. Hesitating, Sojiro agreed. They sat together and watched TV as the rain fell. Even as his thoughts wandered, Sojiro found himself wondering, does Mizuki like me? But he quickly pushed the idea away, annoyed by how she ignored personal space. Trying to set some boundaries, he brought up the importance of proper behavior. He warned her that when a girl casually jumps on a guy, people might think badly of her. Mizuki didn't seem to care. Instead, she admired her reflection in the dark TV screen. "A cute girl always stares back at me," she said. Sojiro groaned in frustration. "Do you even understand what it means to invite a guy over like this?" he asked, but Mizuki didn't answer. Instead, she leaned against him, making him question her feelings all over again. Just as he felt the urge to hold her, Mizuki commented on the show. She pointed out how a similar moment led to an awkward situation. Startled, Sojiro quickly pulled away. Thankful he didn't act on his emotions. Then, suddenly, lightning struck, and the power went out. Mizuki grabbed onto him tightly, her voice shaky. "I'm scared," she admitted. Confused, Sojiro replied sarcastically, "Thanks for letting me know." But Mizuki still wouldn't let go. Frustrated, Sojiro reminded her, "You knew this was going to happen." But Mizuki just said, "Knowing it doesn't make it any easier to go through." As he pressed her for more details about her vision, she suddenly pulled him down with her, and they both collapsed onto the floor. Mizuki let out a soft laugh and teased, "We always end up like this, huh?" Exasperated, Sojiro asked, "Just how far can you see into the future?" Mizuki answered mysteriously, "I know everything, but I don't look too far ahead." She paused. "I only knew up to the blackout." Sojiro became serious. "Then why do you go through all this?" "Just for me." But before he could finish the question, Mizuki gently ran her fingers through his hair. "I do whatever I want," she said. "Nothing more, nothing less." Sojiro hesitated, then asked quietly, "What if I was having inappropriate thoughts about you?" Mizuki's cheeks turned red. She nervously asked, "What do you mean?" His heart pounded. He couldn't deny how he felt anymore. Mizuki leaned in, curious. "So, what do you plan to do next?" Sojiro stared at her, completely lost in thought, but no answer came to his lips. That night, Sojiro awakened his inner courage and ran away from the situation, even though it was pouring rain. The next day, Sojiro felt sluggish all day. After class, Ibayashi came up to him and said everyone else had already gone home. He also reminded Sojiro that he needed to stop by the club room. Without saying a word, Sojiro headed there, which made Ibayashi worried. Sojiro still wasn't sure if Mizuki really liked him or not. The truth was, she had invited him over yesterday and pulled that kind of stunt, which made it seem like she had planned to go further with him. If they really had done something intimate, they would have graduated from being innocent teenagers overnight. But Sojiro wasn't ready for that. He was old-fashioned and wanted to wait. When he entered the club room, Mizuki suddenly pounced on him. But after realizing it was Sojiro, she let go, saying she thought he was a client. She then said she forgot something at his house the night before and started tugging at his jacket. Seeing her strip made Sojiro shriek, remembering yesterday's events. Last time he ran away, but he wasn't sure he could resist if it happened again. Seeing his reaction, Mizuki apologized. She admitted she went too far and took advantage of his kindness, but claimed it was necessary. Sojiro thought maybe his feelings were just messy and tried to explain himself, but Mizuki quickly shoved him into the locker, telling him to stay there for the time being. Not long after, Ibayashi entered the room. He said he had heard the club was a place where you could ask for advice. He brought up how Sojiro had been acting strangely today. He also hinted that he knew Mizuki's secret, that she was actually younger than both of them. Then he said despite Sojiro's flaws, he was still his friend and he wouldn't forgive Mizuki if she was the reason Sojiro was suffering. Mizuki laughed at this, commenting on what a good friend Sojiro had. She reassured Ibayashi that even if she seemed inconsiderate at times, Sojiro was still part of her club, and she would never deceive or hurt him. Ibayashi decided to believe her and left. As he walked out, Mizuki gave him a little fortune too, saying he, like Sojiro, was destined to be with someone younger. Afterward, Sojiro stepped out of the locker. Mizuki once again told him he had a great friend, and Sojiro admitted he didn't deserve a friend like that. Then he sat down and asked Mizuki if they had ever met before, and if she liked him. Mizuki replied cryptically, reminding him that his fate was with someone younger. Sojiro told her directly that her way of acting toward the opposite gender was flawed. Still, he admitted he enjoyed the club activities and spending time with her. He even patted her head, which made her happy. But deep inside, he thought that even if she truly liked him, he couldn't just accept her feelings right now. He wanted to protect their current relationship, and if he ever did fall in love with her, he would confess properly. Otherwise, it would all feel like a joke. Suddenly, Sojiro heard Mizuki mumbling something he couldn't fully catch. When he asked about it, she simply said it was a secret, which left his heart feeling heavy. Meanwhile, in Ren's class, students were paired up to draw portraits of each other for art class. Ren's friends Ni and Mo came to chat with her. Out of nowhere, Mizuki appeared, and asked Ren to partner with her. Her sudden appearance startled Ren. Naji, on the other hand, already seemed to know Mizuki, since she was friends with Uta, a girl who had once asked Mizuki for a fortune. Ren wasn't thrilled about Mizuki's request and told her to back off. But Mizuki whispered in her ear about Sojiro, hinting that she was close with him. This made Ren curious, so she agreed to pair up with Mizuki and sent her friends away. While they drew, Ren asked what kind of relationship Mizuki had with her brother. Mizuki just said Sojiro had helped her out. She then tried to learn more about Sojiro as a brother. Ren simply said he was okay. Mizuki teased further, saying he was a good cook. Ren explained that chores were split at home, and cooking was just Sojiro's share. Mizuki then teased Ren again, saying she should call her Oni-chan. Ren snapped, annoyed, and told her to shut up and draw, but Mizuki revealed she was already done and showed Ren her portrait. Ren was shocked by how well drawn it was, but also embarrassed. The drawing showed her in an apron with her shoulder mole visible. She couldn't understand how Mizuki knew about that detail. She told Mizuki the portrait was wrong for class, so Mizuki tossed it aside. Ren muttered that Mizuki could have just given it to her instead. Hearing this, Mizuki teased her again, hugging her and calling her little sister. Ren grew flustered, not just because of Mizuki's teasing, but because of Mizuki's large chest pressing against her. Frustrated, Ren squeezed one of them, realizing her brother might have been enchanted by Mizuki's assets. Mizuki told Ren not to worry. Sojiro was aware of his own limits and was always kind. As Ren listened, her eyes drifted to the burn scar on her hand. She remembered when she was little, trying to cook for the family while their mother was busy with work and chores. She had ended up burning her hand, and it was Sojiro, still a child himself, who rushed her to the hospital and comforted her. Ever since then, Sojiro had taken over cooking to protect his little sister. Before leaving, Mizuki asked Ren to keep her true identity a secret from Sojiro. Class ended soon after, and once Mizuki left, Mo and Naji came over to ask Ren how it went. Ren simply said Mizuki was a weird girl, but not a bad person. That night, Sojiro came home. Ren almost asked him if he knew Mizuki, but stopped herself, remembering her promise. Instead, she warned him to avoid women with large chests. Sojiro replied that if he had a girlfriend, he would rather have one with a good personality. Later, Mizuki dressed up as Kirin, a Japanese fox goddess. She had borrowed the costume from their club advisor, Tsukimi, and wanted someone to roleplay with. Sojiro refused immediately. He wasn't good with scary stuff, but Mizuki insisted. When he still refused, she blackmailed him, saying if he wouldn't play along, he'd have to undress her cosplay. Fearing he'd end up in jail, Sojiro reluctantly agreed. They performed the ritual together, chanting as Mizuki placed a coin on the board. To Sojiro's shock, the coin began moving. Mizuki calmly said it was just a low-class spirit. She suggested Sojiro ask it something. Nervously, he asked the most important question he could think of. What did Mizuki have for dinner last night? The coin spelled out diet supplements since Mizuki couldn't cook. This angered her, so to get revenge, she asked the spirit about Sojiro's first love. The board spelled out Rie. Mizuki teased him, but Sojiro explained Rie was his kindergarten teacher. Curious, he asked if Mizuki wanted to know more, but she refused. Sojiro didn't believe her, so he asked the spirit if Mizuki was interested in Rie-sensei. The spirit said no, which killed his excitement. Mizuki admitted she didn't care about the past, except this one time she did lie about not being curious. Finally, Mizuki asked the spirit how to get rid of curses. Hearing this, Sojiro panicked, begging her to stop before they got cursed. But it was too late. Suddenly, a shock went through their bodies. Mizuki brushed it off as static electricity, but Sojiro was terrified, convinced they were doomed. Things got worse when the board ripped apart on its own. Even Mizuki felt uneasy now. Then came a loud bang on the door. Moments later, it flew off its hinges and Tsukimi entered, asking what they had been up to. Relieved, Mizuki ran to hug her. Sojiro, however, had already fainted from fear. Mizuki gave him a lap pillow until he woke up. While he slept, she admitted she had lied earlier. She actually had been curious about Rie, even though she normally didn't care about the past. Suddenly, she got an idea and asked Tsukimi if she had a marker. The eccentric teacher happened to have one in her pocket. Mizuki took it and wrote her own name on Sojiro's face, claiming she was marking her territory. One day, Sojiro asked Mizuki if she had made any friends yet. She answered with a firm no. When he asked why, he suggested it might be because her serious face scared people, even if she was beautiful. Mizuki took offense at first, but Sojiro explained that when a cute girl looks at others too seriously, it makes her intimidating. She replied it wasn't her fault she was born beautiful. Sojiro decided not to press further, but he thought to himself that Mizuki really needed friends. Otherwise, her strange behavior would never change. Mizuki then asked what she should do to fix her expression. Sojiro told her to smile more. She tried, but the result was terrifying. Sojiro begged her never to make that face again. Mizuki then had another idea. If she couldn't fix her smile, maybe Sojiro could do it for her. Hesitant at first, he eventually tried to shape her face into a natural smile. The outcome was still awful, but Mizuki burst into laughter. Then, at last, she smiled brightly on her own. This time, her genuine smile struck Sojiro straight in the heart. He told her that if she could smile like that on purpose, she would become a living goddess. But Mizuki said that wasn't what she wanted. She didn't need worshippers, she just wanted real friends. Seeing Sojiro's serious expression, Mizuki asked if he liked her smile. But to him, that wasn't the point. It was just training to help her make friends. Still, Mizuki wondered if having many friends really mattered. Maybe it would be better to have just one person who cared deeply about her, referring to Sojiro. She asked him which version of her he liked best. Sojiro answered honestly. He liked her just the way she was now. This made Mizuki blush. She promised she would try to be less scary from now on, and Sojiro encouraged her. Later that day, during class, Mo came to collect Japanese history notebooks. Mizuki handed hers over and, remembering her talk with Sojiro, gave Mo a bright smile and thanked her for her hard work. The sudden change made Mo's heart skip a beat, and she rushed off. Mizuki thought her attempt had failed, not realizing she had actually succeeded. Meanwhile, across the classroom, a short-haired girl sat watching Mizuki while tightly clutching her skirt. Another day, Sojiro and Ibayashi were on cleaning duty. After sweeping, Sojiro went to throw out the trash, asking Ibayashi to replace the bag. At the disposal area, he noticed a lonely-looking girl. At first, he thought to ignore her, but hearing her quietly sob, he couldn't leave her alone. He offered his handkerchief and asked if she was okay. If she was sick, he said, he could take her to the infirmary. The girl turned out to be the same one who had been staring earlier. Suspicious of his kindness, she asked if he was hitting on her. Of course, Sojiro wasn't. He just sat beside her to keep her company. She found it unusual for a boy to carry a handkerchief. Sojiro explained that he had a troublesome senpai who often got into dangerous situations, so he kept one with him just in case. She noticed the Nezu mascot on the handkerchief, a fortune-telling character often seen on the news. Her mood changed instantly. She said she hated fortune tellers, calling them lowlives who prey on fears and give meaningless sugar-coated words. Her bitterness made Sojiro wonder if she had been scammed into buying a magical vase or something. But she hadn't. Sojiro said he didn't think fortune-telling was that bad. It was fine to feel happy when receiving good news. But the girl countered, what if the fortune was bad? Slowly, Sojiro pieced things together. She wasn't sick. She was heartbroken. His sharp deductions startled her, and she accused him of being a stalker. Eventually, she opened up. She liked a boy who was brash but kind. They were close like family, and even the boy's mother had asked her to look after him. She thought they would go to the same school again, but when she arrived, she learned he already had someone else in his life. Sojiro zoned out through part of her story, but eventually introduced himself properly. Hearing his family name, the girl realized who he was. Before leaving, Sojiro told her that if she wanted advice, there was a good place for it, the club on the second floor. He left his handkerchief with her and returned to class. Later, the girl went back to her own class, where she ran into Ren. She immediately realized that the boy she met earlier was Ren's brother. Finally, the girl was revealed to be Yuta, the same one Mizuki had once given a harsh fortune to. Soon, Yuta visited the divination club. She wasn't happy to be there, but came to return the handkerchief. Inside, she found two people arguing over sumo, specifically that you're supposed to push your opponent out of the ring, not pee on them. Confused, Yuta spotted Mizuki, which shocked her even more. Then she heard Sojiro call Mizuki senpai, which Mizuki quickly signaled her to keep quiet about. Yuta remembered Mizuki's brutal fortune, telling her she'd need plastic surgery if she wanted a chance with her crush. She knew it wasn't entirely Mizuki's fault, but she still wanted payback, so she put on a cute act in front of Sojiro, thanking him sweetly for his advice, and suggesting she might come back for more help. Then she skipped out, teasing Mizuki by sticking out her tongue. Mizuki was left speechless. She had just watched someone try to steal her territory. But since Sojiro didn't really understand what had just happened, Mizuki could only grumble that Uta's behavior wasn't right. One day, Sojiro was riding the train home. Beside him, some girls were chatting about boyfriend. They said it felt weird to let their boyfriend treat them if he didn't even have a part-time job. It was like taking money from his parents. Hearing this made Sojiro uneasy. After all, Mizuki's situation was already complicated. The next day, he went to the club room early. Mizuki arrived and was surprised to see him there before her. Sojiro explained that homeroom ended early, so he had some free time. She noticed the magazine in his hands and asked what it was. He told her he was looking at part-time jobs. Immediately, Mizuki declared that part-time jobs were banned in her club. Sojiro was confused. He knew the 3 silly rules about spoiling, obeying, and fawning over Mizuki, but this rule was new to him. Mizuki then asked if there was something he wanted to buy, insisting she could just get it for him. But Sojiro shook his head. He scolded her gently, saying she should manage her money better since she lived alone. With blank eyes, Mizuki replied that money wasn't a problem. Thanks to her fortune-telling powers, she said the future became the present, and the present became the past. If she wanted something, she could make it happen. Well, except for Sojiro himself. Sojiro still refused. He wanted to earn things with his own effort. Mizuki quickly admitted she was joking, mostly. Then she had an idea. He could just work at her house, and she'd pay him any rate he wanted. But Sojiro explained why he wanted a job. He wanted to save up for summer, so they could go out together. As a man, he wanted to pay for Mizuki's share, too. Hearing this, Mizuki blushed bright red. She was flustered but happy. She told him that only Sojiro would think of doing something like that for her. Sojiro said she could expect even more in the future. Finally, Mizuki agreed to let him get a job, though she was a little sad it would take time away from the club. Sojiro reassured her he would only work weekends. That meant he'd have no days off, but he didn't mind. Mizuki, still trying to sway him, suggested again that he just work for her. He wouldn't have to do anything weird, just share a meal with her for 30,000 yen. But instead of being tempted, Sojiro sulked, feeling unreliable. This triggered Mizuki's teasing side. Out of nowhere, she grabbed his head between her thighs and squeezed, telling him there was no need to be depressed. She could make a man out of him. Sojiro panicked, convinced she was going to do lewd things. He muttered that Mizuki had no sense of chastity. Offended, she kicked him, insisting she wasn't like that. It wasn't as if she'd do such things with anyone. But by then, Sojiro had already passed out from the squeeze, ascending dramatically into the afterlife. Meanwhile, Ren was out at karaoke with her friends. Mo struggled to separate the drinks because Naji had mixed them up, and she couldn't handle fizzy ones. Naji teased her, asking if she had superpowers. Mo sarcastically answered that she was an Esper. That led the group to talk about Espers in general. Someone mentioned there was an Esper around their age who had appeared on TV recently, though they couldn't remember his name. Suddenly, UTA barged in, annoyed that she was the only one actually singing. Everyone ignored her question and shifted the conversation to chasing happiness instead. Back at the club room, Mizuki and Sojiro were working on her make friends plan. This time it meant creating a social media profile. Sojiro explained that depending on how she used it, it could help her succeed. But Mizuki wasn't serious. She put her name down as Tanaka. Not terrible, but clearly fake. Next, they worked on her bio. Sojiro asked if she had any talents or strong points. Mizuki smirked and said she had her mommy milkers. Obviously, they couldn't write that. So Sojiro pressured her to just put fortune-telling. Mizuki, distracted, accidentally typed breast divinations. After fixing that, they moved on to the profile picture. Mizuki claimed she had the perfect one in mind. Sojiro reminded her it couldn't show her chest. She swore she wasn't going to, but her body language betrayed her. Still, she insisted it was fine. Then she showed him the picture. Mizuki in casual clothes, her figure fully on display. Sojiro froze, completely flustered. The only words that escaped his mouth were his true feelings. He wanted that picture. Even though Sojiro wanted the picture of Mizuki, he held back like the good boy he was. Mizuki teased him, saying that holding back was bad for his body. In the end, she just set a picture of Hauge as her profile icon. The account looked like a total spam profile anyway. They made their first post. Mizuki commented that each step they took made things look sloppier and sloppier. At karaoke, Ren was scrolling through her phone and spotted the new account. She asked Rai if it belonged to her brother, but before Rai could answer, Naji and Mo swarmed her with questions about him. Rai explained that he was a second-year student at their school, basically their senpai. Meanwhile, UTA checked the profile. It only had one follower, Sojiro, and the only post was about accurate fortune-telling. Without hesitation, UTA blocked it. Back at the club room, Mizuki panicked when she realized she'd been blocked. She told Sojiro, who suggested maybe the person just blocked anyone named Tanaka. Mizuki thought maybe she should change her name. At karaoke, Mo finally remembered the name of the Esper boy they'd mentioned earlier. It was Namazu. But when UTA heard the name, she covered her ears and started making loud noises to avoid hearing anything about fortune-telling. The girls tried to calm her down, but she burst into tears remembering her depression. They handed her the mic so she could sing her sadness away. Meanwhile, Mizuki changed her online name to Namazu, revealing herself as the Esper boy.
Hey guys, sorry for mid-editing, but I noticed a lot of you are watching my videos without subscribing. Our subscribe ratio is literally close to 0. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Thanks. Now, back to the recap.
One day after school, Sojiro headed to the club room, humming along the way. As he approached, he heard a voice. Peeking inside, he saw Mizuki trying to close the tall transom windows but struggling to reach them. Sojiro walked over to help. He remarked on how small she really was. Mizuki misunderstood, thinking he was talking about her chest size. Sojiro clarified he meant her height. But before they could settle it, one of her blouse buttons popped off and hit him in the face. Mizuki proudly declared it proved her bigness. Seeing her chest peek out, Sojiro quickly took off his shirt and handed it to her, telling her to change inside while he sewed her button back on. Mizuki eagerly started stripping right there, but Sojiro stopped her midway and pushed her into the club room to change. He also closed the windows for her, earning her cheerful applause. Sojiro pulled out a sewing kit from his bag. It had just enough thread for the job. He fixed her blouse quickly. Mizuki came back out wearing his oversized shirt, her curves clearly showing. Embarrassed, Sojiro averted his eyes and told her to button up, but Mizuki leaned close, teasing him, asking if her blouse was ready. He revealed it was already done. Impressed by his speed, Mizuki asked if sewing was his specialty. Sojiro shrugged it off as a small task. Wanting his shirt back, he asked her to return it. But Mizuki refused, claiming the shirt was hers now. Even when he pleaded, she playfully said if he wanted it back, he'd have to take it off her by force. Of course, Sojiro didn't dare. Mizuki kept teasing, finally offering her own blouse in exchange. Against his will, she forced him into it. The blouse was skin-tight. The fabric stretched, and in a second, all the buttons popped off. Mizuki burst into laughter, telling him there was no way he could wear that home. Broken and humiliated, Sojiro collapsed in despair. Mizuki crouched beside him, laughing, and declared that he would never be able to win against her. A few days later at lunchtime, Sojiro realized he had accidentally taken Rai's lunchbox instead of his own. Ibayashi was shocked at how huge it was, 4 times the size of his. Sojiro explained they had both rushed to school, so the boxes got mixed up. He went to Rai's classroom to exchange it. Embarrassed, Rai asked why he came, but Sojiro joked around. He handed her lunchbox back and asked for his, but Rai was confused. She hadn't eaten it. Sojiro panicked, thinking she had already finished his entire meal. Rai brushed it off, still having room to eat her gigantic lunch anyway. They bickered, catching the attention of Mo and UTA. Mo noted how tall Sojiro was, though she couldn't see his face clearly. UTA suddenly stood and walked over. She offered her own lunch to Sojiro. Ren was surprised and asked if she knew her brother. UTA admitted they weren't properly introduced yet, but confirmed they knew each other. She explained she'd had home economics earlier and wasn't hungry, so Hiro accepted her lunch, thanking her. Ren watched their chemistry and got an idea. Sojiro then suggested they share the lunch at the club room. It would be fun with Mizuki there too. UTA tried to back out, but Ren insisted, pushing her along with Sojiro toward the divination club. Back in class, Ren returned to her seat, thinking that if she were going to have a big sister, she'd rather it be UTA than Mizuki. Meanwhile, Sojiro and UTA arrived at the club room and began splitting the lunch between them. Mizuki sat nearby, growing increasingly jealous of their chemistry. Furious, she demanded to know what they were doing. Sojiro explained that since Ren accidentally swapped their lunches, UTA had kindly offered to share hers. He thought they could eat while also doing some club activities. UTA then jumped in, asking Mizuki if it was true she could predict someone's destined partner. Mizuki agreed, but before she could start, Sojiro took a bite of Yuta's cooking and was amazed at the taste. He asked if she made it herself, and she nodded, saying she had lots of practice. Seeing their easy back and forth, Mizuki pouted and refused to read Yuta's fortune. She scolded Sojiro for only paying attention to UTA, but Sojiro calmly reminded her that it was just basic manners. Yuta was their guest. Realizing this, Mizuki returned to normal and agreed to give UTA her fortune. Still, Mizuki wasn't happy with how close the two were sitting, so she demanded they move apart. But UTA flatly refused. Sojiro sighed, wondering if these two would ever get along when he thought they could. Then UTA asked Sojiro if he knew who his destined partner was. Mizuki quickly answered that fate had already chosen her for him. UTA smirked and teased, asking if Sojiro really preferred younger girls, but Sojiro shook his head. With Ren as his younger sister, dating a younger girl would just feel like he was dealing with another sibling. Hearing this, UTA quietly mocked Mizuki, who grew irritated and insisted that her fortunes were absolute. The tension rose, but Sojiro stepped in. He gently massaged Mizuki's head, telling her to calm down. He reminded her she was talking to someone 3 years younger. This surprised UTA. She laughed, explaining that Mizuki wasn't even pretending to be a third year. She was acting more like a fourth year, someone almost old enough to drink. Mizuki fumed while UTA laughed harder. To defuse it, Sojiro walked over and patted Yuta's head too, telling her it takes two to start a fight. UTA stared at him blankly, thinking he was kind of a weirdo, and for once, Mizuki agreed with her. After noon, Sojiro walked into the clubroom only to find Mizuki crouched over Mo, who was unconscious on the floor. Sojiro gave a nervous laugh and asked what the heck she was doing. Mizuki played dumb, claiming that Mo had suddenly started talking to her and then collapsed, so she was helping her by stripping her. Sojiro was completely baffled at the logic. What did fainting have to do with getting undressed? But Mizuki ignored his concerns and rambled about how she'd always been interested in girls' underwear. She proudly pulled out Mo's bra. Horrified, Sojiro told her to put it back immediately, but Mizuki, being Mizuki, placed it on top of his head instead. Sojiro froze, realizing something bad was about to happen. He panicked at the idea of having a bra on his head, but Mizuki teased him further, claiming that while Mo was big, she was still nothing compared to her. Then Mizuki got one of her brilliant ideas. She pulled out a pair of panties and plopped them on his head too, making him look like a total pervert. Sojiro was on the verge of breaking down. He asked if the unconscious Mo was now defenseless, both above and below, but Mizuki simply announced she was going to fetch their club advisor and walked out, leaving him alone with Mo. Seeing the poor girl half-stripped on the floor, Sojiro felt sympathetic. He gently covered her with his blazer. At that moment, Mo opened her eyes and sat up, immediately noticing a strange guy sitting in front of her. She nervously asked who he was. Sojiro, panicking, tried to cover his eyes, but in his rush, he accidentally used her bra as a blindfold. Mo froze, confused at the bizarre sight. Then, as she focused more closely on him, she started to realize who this boy really was. Mo grew fearful and disgusted, asking if Sojiro was some kind of pervert. She even questioned what on earth he had done to her while she was asleep. Sojiro frantically denied everything, insisting there was an explanation. But then Mo noticed something worse. There was a pair of panties stuck on Sojiro's head. Her face turned beet red as she hurried to cover herself out of embarrassment. At that moment, the clubroom door opened and Mizuki walked in. She explained that Tsumugi wasn't available, then pretended to be clueless about what was going on. To Sojiro's horror, she condemned him as a pervert too, leaving him to wonder why even Mizuki had forsaken him. Mo was surprised to see Mizuki there, but Mizuki whispered for her to keep her real identity secret. Eventually, the misunderstanding was cleared up, and Mo asked for her underwear back. Sojiro quickly returned it, but then Mo froze. She was still wearing her own, which meant the underwear he had just given her didn't belong to her at all. Sojiro realized with a jolt that they must belong to Mizuki. When he asked, Mizuki didn't confirm or deny it. Instead, she smirked and told him to find out for himself. Completely thrown off, Sojiro was left confused, clueless, and certain that Mo was the biggest victim in this bizarre mess. One day after school, Sojiro was heading home with Mizuki. As they walked toward the school gate, he dropped his bag and a bundle of fireworks spilled out. Mizuki's eyes widened. She asked where he got them, and Sojiro explained that Yuashi had given them to him. That only made Mizuki more suspicious, wondering why Yuashi always handed out things that appealed to kids. Sojiro then asked if Mizuki liked firework. She admitted she hated them, but Sojiro, determined, said that since they had them already, they might as well try them out. Mizuki reminded him that the nearby riverbank didn't allow firework. That's when Sojiro had an ingenious idea. Why not set them off at his place? The suggestion left Mizuki wide-eyed and speechless. Eventually, they reached the Sakagami household. At the door, Sojiro told Mizuki to wait while he went to change clothes. Ren greeted him, warning him to be careful, because UTA was here. Despite the warning, Sojiro stumbled straight into the bathroom, only to find UTA fresh out of the bath. Startled, he froze, shocked that things like this actually happened in real life. Almost instantly, he shut the door as if trying to erase what he had just seen. Outside, Mizuki sat waiting while Ren scolded her brother for barging in on UTA. UTA, embarrassed and blushing, still tried to defend Sojiro, saying he didn't know. Sojiro bowed, apologizing to UTA and admitting he had no excuse. As a token of apology, he invited both her and Ren to join the fireworks display. Mizuki, overhearing this, asked why UTA was even there. Ren explained that some things had happened, so she lent their bath to her. Then Ren turned the question back on Mizuki, asking why she was there. Mizuki, being cheeky and non-compliant, claimed it was her house. Ren instantly denied it. Later, as they all sat on the porch chatting, Ren suddenly asked Mizuki if she liked her brother. Mizuki paused, uncertain. She said she didn't really care how other people defined emotions. This annoyed Ren, but Mizuki went on, saying that sometimes, when she looked at Sohiro, she felt excited, or something like that. Ren snapped, declaring that was just lust. Mizuki countered that it was something pure. Their bickering grew into a noisy commotion, until Sohiro walked over and handed Mizuki some of the fireworks. Mizuki asked if they weren't saving them for night, but Sojiro said no. It would be too dangerous for her to go home alone that late. But Mizuki casually mentioned she didn't plan on going home at all that night. This startled Sojiro and made Ren even angrier. Ren told Mizuki to leave right away and announced that UTA would be staying over. UTA was just as shocked, since she hadn't been told this, but Ren insisted. Their mother, overhearing, gave Ren permission. Out of spite, Mizuki also asked for permission to stay, and surprisingly she got it too. Sojiro was left stunned by all the side plans, but in the end he had no authority to stop his sister's friends from staying over. He told himself it would be fine as long as he avoided walking in on anyone again and kept them all out of his room. But deep down he knew it was already a hopeless situation. Almost immediately Mizuki goes into Sohiro's room and starts searching for his adult magazine. Meanwhile, UTA comments on how his room smells like him, while Ren jokes that it stinks just like her brother. Feeling a bit hurt, Sojiro turns to Mizuki for comfort, asking if she thinks his room smells too, but she's already fast asleep in his bed. When he checks on her, he's left shocked to see that she's exposed. Sojiro has now failed in both of his goals, keeping the girls out of his room and avoiding seeing them exposed. Later that evening, everyone gathers for dinner. Ren helped with the cooking, explaining that it was the least she could do since they were letting UTA stay over. As a jab at Mizuki, she points out that she could never sleep while the host prepared food. Their mother joins in too, complimenting Yuta's cooking, which leaves her flustered. Mizuki suddenly stands up and insists on helping with the cleanup. She and Sojiro wash dishes together in the kitchen, while the Sakagami mother watches them. Once night falls, it's finally time for fireworks. On the porch, Sojiro reminds Mizuki that she once said she hated fireworks, but she still decides to join in. Before they start, the mother calls Mizuki inside to talk. Outside, Ren suggests they light a large shell-type firework, the kind that explodes into stars, but Sojiro refuses since it's too dangerous in a residential area. UTA hands him a water bucket, and impressed by her thoughtfulness, he asks if she's an only child. She admits she is, but says she once had someone like an older brother, until another woman took him away. This puts her in a sour mood, so Sojiro calls Ren over to cheer her up. Meanwhile, Sojiro wonders what Mizuki and his mom are talking about. He remembers that Mizuki's parents don't live with her, and realizes he doesn't actually know much about her life. Whenever he tries asking, she dodges the question. Soon after, Ren and UTA begin lighting smaller fireworks, while Sojiro waits on the porch for Mizuki to return. When she finally comes back, they sit together, and she compliments his family for being so kind. Sohiro asks what her own parents are like, and she bluntly says they're scumbags who abandoned her with money to live on. Because of this, she hasn't been close to anyone, not even family, and that's why she hates fireworks. They can't be enjoyed alone. Sojiro reassures her, saying she's not alone anymore. She has him now. Her heart skips at his words, but he doesn't stop there. He suggests they celebrate by lighting the big shell firework together. Helping her up, he sets it off with her, and the explosion lights the sky. Ren mutters that it was smaller than she expected, while Sojiro is startled by how loud it was. Their mother storms out, scolding him and telling him to apologize to the neighbors. Mizuki stays behind, staring at the empty sky, quietly moved by both the fireworks and Sohiro's words. That night, Mizuki recalls a memory with her grandmother. As a child, she once complained that she'd rather watch videos than see fireworks in person, claiming she could just watch them anytime on her phone. Her grandmother scolded her gently, saying the important thing wasn't the fireworks themselves, but who you shared them with. Back then, young Mizuki didn't understand, but now with time, she finally does. A few years later, when Mizuki was in middle school, she remembered watching a fireworks display from her apartment window. She wasn't interested though and quickly closed the curtains. Back in the present, Ren is left puzzled when UKA, who already stole her pajamas, says she wants to sleep in her room. Mizuki's first choice was Sohiro's room, but he refused. Hearing this, Ren gets mad and tells her to sleep in the hallway instead. UTA, who's also present, asks if she should sleep in the hallway too, but Ren, being the kinder one, says UTA can just share her bed. Mizuki, however, still wants a bed of her own, and Ren just wants her pajamas back. As Ren tries to wrestle her clothes back, UTA watches the two bicker with an intense stare. Ren notices and asks what's wrong. UTA replies that she was just thinking about how much she hates women, or maybe just some women. Mizuki quickly takes the hint and gets confrontational, saying she doesn't mind fighting UTA if it comes to that. She even throws a few warm-up punches. Ren, annoyed, asks why Mizuki always has a habit of wearing other people's clothes bare-bodied. Mizuki shamelessly replies that she's just following her huge mommy milker and letting them grow freely. Seeing Ren holding UKA back, UTA takes her chance. She tells Ren to keep holding UKA, saying victory comes to the one who strikes first and hardest. She even grabs a pen, ready to fight. Soon the two begin tussling, creating such a commotion that Sojiro is forced to show up at Ren's room. He tells them to keep it down, which only makes Ren more irritated since she wasn't the one causing the chaos. Still, Sojiro's warning breaks up and UTA apologizes to Ren. But things don't end there. Mizuki suddenly asks UTA how she feels about Sojiro. UTA bristles, demanding why she should have to say anything like that. Ren, however, is also curious, and after a bit of juice drinking, UTA opens up. She explains that she once liked Ryu, her childhood friend, but he suddenly got a girlfriend without telling her. Mizuki isn't interested in this story, saying that if UTA wanted to change her fate, she should have had the resolve to do so. Ren presses further, asking what UTA thinks of her brother. UTA admits she doesn't feel anything special about Sojiro, but Ren doesn't let it drop. She then asks how UTA felt when he accidentally saw her nude. Mizuki is shocked to learn this happened, calling UTA a thought, and points out that even she's only gone as far as PG-13, never R-rated. Blushing, UTA insists that Sojiro didn't seem to think much of it, so she doesn't want to make it a big deal. Mizuki isn't happy with Yuta's flustered face and grabs her by the cheeks. Ren then asks why Mizuki even cares, since she always says she doesn't like Sojiro. Mizuki goes red and mutters that maybe things have changed since that conversation. Seeing her reaction, UTA smirks and starts teasing, saying maybe she should just take Sojiro for herself. This sparks another scuffle between the two, and they end up grappling late into the night. Ren decides she's had enough and goes to sleep while they continue fighting. The next morning, Sojiro wakes up early and makes breakfast for everyone. When he goes to wake the girls, he finds them all sleeping on the floor together. With that, the sleepover comes to an end, and everyone returns home. A few days later, Mizuki is in the club room putting things away when she suddenly remembers Sojiro's words on the night of the fireworks. His face flashes in her mind, and she starts blushing. Just then, Sojiro sneaks up from behind and asks if she needs help. Startled, Mizuki stumbles backward, drops a vial, and breaks it. Although Sojiro manages to catch Mizuki before she gets hurt, the vial still breaks. He asks how she can drop things so easily despite the gorilla grip strength she's known for. Mizuki, however, is too flustered by his closeness and tells him to let her go. Sojiro heads over to grab the cleaning supplies while asking what she was doing in the first place. Mizuki explains that their club advisor, Toimi, had given her some things to put away in the mysterious cabinet. But now the vial is broken, and the strange fluff inside it has rolled onto the floor. Picking it up, Mizuki proudly declares that it's a Kazaran Pasaran, a yokai from Japanese folklore. At first, Sojiro doubts her, but suddenly does a 180, acting like she's a little kid. Annoyed, Mizuki scolds him, asking if she really looks like a child who would believe in such myths. Still, she insists this fluff really is a Kazaran Pasaran. When Sojiro touches it, he notices it feels warm, just as the legends say. The two panic a little before admitting it must really be a yokai. They put it on the table, and Sojiro wonders aloud what it eats. Mizuki quickly searches her phone and finds that it feeds on face powder. Since he obviously doesn't have any, Sojiro pokes a stick at it and offers it instead. To their surprise, the fluff devours it. Meanwhile, Mizuki keeps sneaking glances at Sojiro, her face growing redder and redder. When he notices and looks directly at her, she gets even more flustered. Trying to lighten the mood, Sojiro says he hopes something good happens, since finding a Kazaran Pasaran is supposed to bring happiness. Mizuki boldly puffs out her chest and says she can make him happy. Sojiro, unsettled, calls her out for acting weird. Mizuki then mutters that maybe she's growing an extra heart or something, and even starts feeling around her chest in confusion. Embarrassed, she asks Sojiro to check for her. For a moment, he almost agrees before quickly snapping back to his senses and refusing. Just then, they notice the Kazaran Pasaran has already eaten the stick, but their amazement is cut short when Toimi suddenly shows up behind them. Mizuki quickly claims responsibility, saying she'll raise the fluff as her own in the clubroom. The advisor firmly denies this, insisting it's not a yokai at all. Sojiro tries to argue, pointing out that it literally ate a stick, but Toimi's weary look shuts him up. She tells them it's best for ordinary people to stay away if this thing really is a yokai. Mizuki looks sad as Toimi takes it away, but the advisor casually tells her to go play with Sojiro's hair instead. Flustered, Mizuki actually does it, roughing up his head until both of them turn red. Toimi then asks if Sojiro fed the fluff anything, which makes the two of them freeze in embarrassment. Mizuki, trying to cover it up, blurts out, "So, how many hearts do I even have?" But Sojiro hadn't noticed anything strange, except maybe how soft the sensation really was. Sometime later, Sojiro finds himself buried in sand at the beach, courtesy of Mizuki, who is cackling as she builds a sand pole over him. From his awkward position, he can't help but end up staring at her from behind, wondering how he got into this ridiculous situation. It all started earlier that morning when Mizuki showed up at the Sakagami household. While Sojiro was still asleep, she slipped right into his bed. He woke up to find Mizuki lying beside him, smiling. Without hesitation, she announced that she wanted to go to the beach since it was a holiday. However, the half-asleep Sojiro simply pulls the blanket back over himself and drifts off again, leaving Mizuki feeling ignored. When he finally wakes up for real, he's shocked and panicked to see Mizuki still in his bed. He quickly apologizes, explaining that he was half asleep earlier, but Mizuki, red-faced, blurts out that she just wanted to go to the beach. Hearing this, Sojiro declares that he loves the beach and insists they should go. Just as he says so, Ren bursts into the room, already prepared. She announces she'll call UTA to join them too, since Mo and Naji are busy today. Mizuki tries to stop her, but Ren doesn't listen. Meanwhile, as Sojiro digs around for his swimsuit, he stumbles upon a small Ziploc bag with something inside, something he doesn't even remember owning. For a moment, he wonders if this is all some kind of hallucination, like he's on an acid trip, but he shakes the thought away. Back at the beach, Mizuki's sand creation is completely overshadowed by the real thing towering before them. She stares up at it, speechless, then begins measuring it against her own body, muttering that anything bigger won't fit. Sojiro hurriedly tells her to stop with the explicit talk. Suddenly, UTA smacks Mizuki on the head, scolding her for being obscene. This sparks another fight between the two, and Sojiro tries his best to calm them down, despite being stuck and unable to move. He asks UTA where Ren went, and UTA explains she's participating in a food-eating challenge to win some prize money. Before long, Ren comes back victorious, carrying the spoils of her win. Mizuki is stunned at how so much food could fit in Ren's small frame. Without hesitation, Ren frees Sojiro and pulls him away, leaving Mizuki and UTA alone, and predictably, they start bickering again. Meanwhile, Sojiro worries about leaving them unsupervised, but Ren reassures him that their relationship has actually improved. She even says she saw them holding a normal conversation at school the other day. Still, Sojiro is confused. He still believes Mizuki is his senpai, but Ren casually lets slip that Mizuki is actually in the same class. Realizing her mistake, Ren quickly shifts into her spoiled little sister act, trying to monopolize her brother's attention and make him forget what she just revealed. Back with the girls, Mizuki and UTA are catching their breath from their squabble when two random guys approach, trying to hit on them. Mizuki instantly curses them out and drives them away, leaving them in tears. She then pointedly asks UTA if she's fine with anyone picking her up now that she's been dumped. UTA replies bitterly that it doesn't matter. Her beloved is already out of reach. Mizuki, more serious now, warns her to be careful, or else she'll end up with a sleazy guy. But UTA quickly flips it back, saying Mizuki is the lucky one. After all, Mizuki's destined partner is Sojiro. But Mizuki shakes her head. She explains that Sojiro's true partner might be someone like Yuta, someone who naturally initiates contact and builds connections. After all, UTA was the one who met him by chance, and sometimes that makes the bond stronger. Stunned, UTA asks why Mizuki tries so hard then. Mizuki, her eyes burning with determination, proclaims that she loves him. That's why she won't give up. Fate or no fate. Hearing this, UTA is taken aback, but begins to empathize. Wanting to ease the tension, she mischievously reaches out to check Mizuki's chest, and the two start fooling around. Just then, Sojiro returns, carrying Ren, who, after overeating, is completely out of commission. He sets her down gently, then gives Mizuki a sharp, suspicious glare. Trying to brush it off, Sojiro suggests they all enjoy the beach some more while they're here. But the moment he says this, dark clouds gather overhead. A sudden rainstorm crashes down, drenching them all. The group finds themselves stranded on the beach, huddling together as the heavy downpour continues. There, UTA checks her phone and learns that all the trains have stopped. That means they're stranded. As they all sit around trying to figure out what to do, the restaurant owner tells them to leave since the place is closing. To stall for time, Ren tries to order some squid, but the owner refuses, saying that her appetite wouldn't be satisfied by something so small. Frustrated, Sojiro says that if they can't leave and the trains aren't running, then the only option is to wait quietly for death. Hearing this, the owner comes up with an idea. He offers to give them a ride to a nearby inn run by his friend. But there's one problem. None of them have money. Or so they think. Luckily, Ren had just won prize money from the eating contest earlier. The same prize that came out of the restaurant owner's pocket for his living expenses this month. Using that, they managed to get dropped off at the inn. When they arrive, Sojiro worries whether they'll even be allowed to stay, considering they're just high school students. But before he can overthink it, a creepy old man greets them. He explains that the inn isn't open today, but he can't just ignore people in need. Out of kindness, he offers them one room to share. Grateful, they all accept. The room has an open-air bath, which excites Ren. She wants to jump in immediately, but since it's still pouring rain, Sojiro points out she'd just get soaked again. So instead, she decides to take a regular bath, dragging UTA and Mizuki along. While they head off, Sojiro stays behind, still thinking about Ren's careless slip at the beach earlier. Meanwhile, in the bath, Ren apologizes to Mizuki for accidentally letting her real age slip. But Mizuki doesn't look angry at all. In fact, she says it was bound to come out eventually. To cheer her up, Ren tells Mizuki that her brother doesn't really seem interested in older girls anyway. She even recalls that he once brought home a girl the same grade as him. This worries Mizuki, but Ren reassures her that she still has a good shot. Soon after, Ren leaves the bath, followed by UTA and Mizuki. But as she steps out, she suddenly comes face to face with Sojiro, completely naked, about to take a bath himself. Before he can react, Mizuki and UTA exit as well, bickering as usual, only to be confronted with the sight of Sojiro and his Excalibur. The two girls freeze in shock, then scream loudly. Later, back in the room, Sojiro sits flustered and embarrassed, while the girls act far too calm for his liking. Their nonchalance only confuses him further. Instead of being embarrassed, UTA and Mizuki seem more amazed by Sojiro's sword, leaving him even more unsettled. Seeing his reaction, the girls begin teasing him, pointing out how it doesn't look very happy, even after seeing them exposed. Pushing things further, UTA wonders aloud if maybe it would perk up if they showed him more. She even begins measuring his pole against her body, like Mizuki had jokingly done back at the beach. Completely overwhelmed, Sojiro begs Ren to stop her friend, but Ren only mocks him, calling him the corrupting giant peepi man. Trapped and desperate, Sojiro comes up with the only solution he can think of, falling asleep. In an instant, he drifts into slumberland, leaving the girls behind. Ren smirks, saying this is the perfect opportunity. Apparently, Sojiro won't wake up no matter what, giving Mizuki and UTA the chance to take things further, but both of them refuse, unwilling to cross that line. And so the night passes uneventfully. Late at night, Sojiro wakes up, momentarily confused about where he is. Then he remembers, they're at the inn. Looking around, he notices Mizuki is still awake, gazing quietly at the moon. There's a heavy silence between them, as Mizuki seems to gather her resolve. Finally, she speaks. She apologizes for everything, admitting she shouldn't have deceived him. Then, with a mix of embarrassment and sincerity, Mizuki reveals the truth. She isn't his senpai, she's actually his junior. When Mizuki finishes her confession, she braces herself for the worst. But to her surprise, Sojiro acts completely normal. Not only that, now that he's technically the senpai, he even jokes about getting a shoulder massage from his junior, just like how she always made him do before. As they sit together and talk, Mizuki nervously asks what he thinks about her confession. Sojiro smiles and admits that he already kind of knew. He's just surprised it took her this long to say it out loud. Embarrassed, Mizuki smacks him on the head. She pouts, saying she didn't plan to tell him the truth yet. There's supposed to be a process for these kinds of things, but somehow they've skipped all the steps. Now that things have gone this far, she declares there's no point holding back anymore. The only thing left for her to do is captivate Sojiro and win his heart by force. Suddenly, the room darkens. Mizuki's expression shifts, her eyes glimmering with determination as she lunges at him, her face close and predatory. Before Sojiro can react, she presses her lips against his in a deep, passionate kiss, leaving him frozen in shock. His startled cry is loud enough to wake UTA, who sits up and catches sight of the two sharing an intense moment. Blushing furiously, she tries to wake Ren too, eager for her to witness the scene of her brother's first time. Meanwhile, Mizuki finally pulls away, her breath heavy. Sojiro, still dazed, tries to speak, but Mizuki doesn't let him. He stammers out a question, asking what their teacher, Susumi, would think if they went too far. But Mizuki coolly replies that she's just a teacher. She wouldn't interfere. Sojiro then asks about her parents, which makes her pause. After a moment, she admits she'll have to tell him about them eventually anyway. And maybe this is the right time. Still pinning him down, Mizuki looks into his eyes. Sojiro can't understand her sudden intensity and asks why she's doing this. In a trembling voice, Mizuki answers that she just wants to be happy, and to be happy she needs him. She wonders aloud what happens to a human who falls for a witch's charm, then murmurs that only Sojiro has the power to make her truly smile. As she leans in again, a blinding light bursts between them. The air ripples and the world begins to twist and swirl around them. The next thing Sojiro knows, he's standing under a bright sunny sky. Dazed, he looks around, confused, and asks where they are. Mizuki quietly tells him that they are inside one of her memories. To test this, Sojiro tries to pick up a ball lying at his feet, but his hand passes right through it. Mizuki explains that what he's seeing is her past. Painful as it is, he needs to understand it. The scene shifts, showing a 5-year-old Mizuki playing alone in a quiet room. The older Mizuki explains that fortune-telling powers can even allow someone else to witness the past itself. Then, they both step fully into the memory world. In this world, little Mizuki is sitting on the porch beside her grandmother. The old woman gently tells her that for people like them, life will always be filled with loneliness. Confused, Mizuki asks what she means. Her grandmother explains that their family carries special blood that allows them to see what others cannot. She used to be a respected fortune teller in her youth, but society began calling her a fraud. Because of that, Mizuki's father grew to resent her. The memory shifts again. They're now in the Mizuki household, where her father, his face shadowed, angrily scolds the young Mizuki for visiting her grandmother. Furious, he orders her to stop associating with that phony old woman. He even goes so far as to call his mother a liar who wasted her life tricking others. Trying to defend her grandmother, the little Mizuki insists that she also has the gift of fortune-telling, but her father snaps, his voice sharp with anger. He tells her that fortune-telling isn't real, that special humans don't exist, and that the world's rejection of her grandmother is proof she was nothing but a pitiful fraud. Watching this memory, Sojiro can't help but mutter that Mizuki's father has serious issues. The older Mizuki nods, saying her parents were weak people. She waves her hand, fast-forwarding the memory to a different day. In the scene, little Mizuki walks beside her grandmother on the way back from the store. Suddenly, the grandmother stops and pulls Mizuki back, just as an unseen force flashes by. Sojiro realizes that, even back then, Mizuki already had powers. She just didn't understand them yet. Her grandmother, having witnessed her granddaughter's abilities, looks both proud and worried. She warns young Mizuki that her future will be full of hardships, that the world won't be kind to people like them. She tells her to push through any obstacle, no matter what it takes. The present-day Mizuki laughs softly, remembering how her grandmother was always trying to prepare her for the pain that would come. The memory then jumps ahead again, this time to her father's downfall. One day, he suddenly loses his job, and her parents begin arguing over money. Her mother, obsessed with spending, keeps blaming him for everything. Watching them fight, little Mizuki innocently offers her father a lottery ticket she had secretly saved, hoping it might help. But instead of appreciating the gesture, he just scolds her, telling her to stay quiet because the adults are talking. Even then, she could already feel how far apart her family was drifting. Mizuki walks to the TV to check the results of her lottery ticket while her parents sit down to talk. Her mother quietly suggests they should get a divorce. Hearing this, her father looks shocked and upset. He says that just like his mother, his wife only cares about what she can get from him. But his wife fires back, saying he's no different. All he ever wanted was a good job and a beautiful wife. She declares that a man with such shallow desires would never be accepted by anyone. Suddenly, their daughter Luca runs up, shouting that her lottery ticket has won millions of yen. Both parents dismiss it as nonsense. But when they check the ticket closely, they realize it's true. The father, stunned, rechecks the numbers and can hardly believe it. He asks how Mizuki knew they were going to win. But child Mizuki just tilts her head and innocently asks why he didn't already know. Meanwhile, in the present, Sojiro and adult Mizuki are watching all this unfold from the control room. Seeing her past, Mizuki quietly admits that even though she could see the future, she still couldn't see into people's hearts, something she didn't understand back then. The scene shifts to two schoolgirls chatting excitedly about a mysterious boy with psychic powers. They don't know that the boy is actually a young Mizuki disguised as a male. His incredible streak of lottery wins has made him a local legend, inspiring both admiration and doubt. One girl questions if the rumors are true, but her friend insists they are. She even explains how she followed the boy's predictions, bought the same numbers, and won the lottery herself. Overjoyed, she jokingly kneels and grabs her friend's foot, pretending to lick her shoe in thanks. Laughing, she begs for a piece of jewelry she's always wanted. Her friend rolls her eyes and says the winnings aren't that big anyway, since prizes are shared among winners. She also mocks the so-called Esper boy, saying that if his powers are real, he should use them for something meaningful, not just for money. The story then flashes back to Mizuki's childhood. Her mother proudly shows her father a newspaper article praising Mizuki as the town's miracle child, but her father seems unimpressed, already lost in deeper thoughts. In the present, Sojiro interrupts the memory and asks Mizuki if she can adjust the digital filter that hides her parents' faces. Mizuki replies that she can make it thinner, but she can't remove it completely. The flashback continues. Mizuki's father is thinking about how to use his daughter's ability for his own advantage. He decides that winning favor with powerful people is more valuable than public praise. His thoughts are interrupted by a call from Mizuki's grandmother. She scolds him for breaking his promise to protect Mizuki. He snaps back, accusing his wife of taking Mizuki to public events. The grandmother ignores his excuses, mocking his idea of protection. He insists that his strict rules making Mizuki disguise herself as a boy using a fake name and hiding her face are for her safety. Changing the topic, he asks about the curse he believes Mizuki inherited. His mother once said such a power shouldn't appear twice in the same generation. The grandmother admits she doesn't understand why it has returned, but refuses to call it a curse. As they argue, she starts coughing violently and spits blood. With a dark chuckle, she jokes that it must be a love call from her late husband in hell. Her son ignores her and declares he'll turn Mizuki's power into something great, ending the call abruptly. Back in the present, Sojiro comments on how invasive Mizuki's power is, allowing her to see moments she wasn't even present for. Mizuki admits she still doesn't fully understand how her power works. The flashback continues. A carefree young Mizuki suddenly tells her father she feels something bad has happened to her grandmother and begs to visit her. Her father firmly refuses, saying her grandmother only brings trouble. He orders her to stay home until the media chaos settles down. When her mother excitedly asks her to appear on TV again, Mizuki hesitates, but eventually agrees, wanting to make her happy. The narrator explains that Mizuki's mother once dreamed of fame and now lives those dreams through her daughter. Mizuki appears on TV again, winning over the public as the godchild. Even though she's disguised as a boy, her innocent charm captivates everyone. But when she returns home, she sees eerie figures gathered outside, chanting for salvation and calling her godchild. Both present-day Mizuki and Sojiro are unsettled by this forgotten memory. The family decides to move for safety, though Mizuki begs to stay close to her grandmother. Her parents refuse, and she's left heartbroken, knowing she'll be far from the one person who truly cared for her. Meanwhile, at her grandmother's house, a bruised and messy young woman named Sakuya bursts in. The grandmother teases her for causing trouble again, but Sakuya jokes that she's only following her advice, to remove anyone standing in her way. Beneath the teasing, though, she's clearly worried about the grandmother's health. The older woman brushes it off, boasting that she's too tough to die. Back in the flashback, Mizuki's father introduces her to Mr. Rotaro, a wealthy businessman with political ties. Rotaro thanks Mizuki for her abilities, hinting at a big partnership. But when Mizuki shakes his hand, she suddenly sees a disturbing vision. Rotaro, licking her foot, a symbol of his sick and twisted desires. Horrified, she pulls back, but her father reassures her, saying this meeting is just the beginning of something great. When Mizuki reminds him of his promise to visit her grandmother on the 14th, he brushes her off, saying he has an important meeting instead. Quietly, Mizuki realizes that her wishes mean nothing compared to his ambitions. At the same time, her grandmother's health worsens. Alone, she coughs up blood, her isolation adding a painful weight to the story. The next day, Mizuki and her parents are in the car, heading to meet another client. The tension is thick, and Mizuki sits silently in the back, lost in thought. Suddenly, she announces that she needs to leave. Without warning, she reaches for the car door handle, while the vehicle is still moving. Mizuki's parents react in alarm. Her mother yells at her to stop, while her father demands to know what's wrong. On the verge of tears, Mizuki says she's worried about her grandmother, but her father brushes it off, sternly reminding her how important today's meeting is, claiming it's critical for their family's future. Mizuki grows more agitated, overwhelmed by vivid flashes of her grandmother that she can't ignore. Her father scolds her, calling her selfish and immature, insisting that their family's priorities lie in securing a better future for everyone. But Mizuki reaches her breaking point. She shouts that she doesn't care about any of that her father is hiding his selfish ambitions behind fake concern for others. She accuses him of using her as a tool to fulfill his desires and says she refuses to be part of his plans anymore. Her father, furious, tells her to grow up and stop acting like a spoiled child. But Mizuki doesn't back down. With tears in her eyes, she says she loves her grandmother and can't ignore the feeling that something is wrong. Remembering her grandmother's advice to trust her instincts, she gathers her courage and orders the driver to change their destination. The driver hesitates, apologizing that he's only supposed to take them to the meeting. This only makes Mizuki more frustrated. Then, to everyone's shock, her mother suddenly punches the car window, shattering the glass. She calmly apologizes to the driver and says she'll pay for the damage, but her real intention is clear. She's helping Mizuki escape. As the car stops at a red light, Mizuki jumps out and runs. Her father yells at the driver to go after her, but her mother stops him. She says that when Mizuki decides something, no one can stop her. Thinking back, she adds that the only time Mizuki ever acts selfishly is when it involves her grandmother. Annoyed, her father mutters that that woman is still causing problems. Her mother glares at him and, with a sharp tone, calls him by his old nickname, Mizuki. She tells him he hasn't changed at all. He's still the same insecure, pitiful man he was in his youth. Stung by her words, he snaps back and tells her to shut up. Meanwhile, Mizuki runs through the streets, desperate to reach her grandmother's house. When she stops to ask for directions, a group of strangers recognizes her, the boy with superpowers from TV. They crowd around her, demanding lottery predictions. When she ignores them, they grow angry, calling her arrogant and ungrateful. Then the eerie chanting begins again. The same strange people from before appear, calling her godchild and begging for salvation. One of them grabs her wrist, their cold hand freezing her in place. Before the situation gets worse, a powerful kick sends the figure flying. Mizuki turns to see a young woman on a motorbike, Sakuya, who calls out, "Hop on, grandkid!" Startled, but with no better choice, Mizuki jumps on behind her. As they speed away, Mizuki worries about the person Sakuya kicked. Sakuya shrugs it off, joking that being kicked by a cute high school girl is probably the highlight of their day. Then she tells Mizuki to focus. Her grandmother is what really matters right now. Suddenly, a police car starts following them, warning Sakuya to pull over. Ignoring the order, Sakuya dodges through the streets until they reach Mizuki's grandmother's house. They burst inside and find her collapsed on the floor, blood pooling under her head. Panicking, Sakuya calls an ambulance. At the hospital, doctors later tell them that they removed a tumor that had gone unnoticed for too long. But Mizuki's grandmother is still unconscious, and they can't say when or if she'll wake up. Mizuki listens in silence, guilt washing over her. Sakuya gently tells her that her grandmother once asked her to look after Mizuki if anything ever happened. From now on, Sakuya says, she'll keep that promise. But Mizuki can't stop crying. She remembers her grandmother's words, that people like them are destined to be alone. Back then, Mizuki had smiled and promised that she'd always be there for her. Now, standing beside her grandmother's hospital bed, Mizuki feels the heavy weight of her broken promise. Her voice trembles as she whispers that she failed. The one person she wanted to protect was left alone when it mattered most. A few days later, Mizuki returns home. Her parents are sitting together quietly, sharing drinks. Her mother comments that her husband must feel lonely now that Mizuki is acting rebellious. He brushes off her words, noting dryly that her chatter must mean her hand is healed. She confirms it has, then shifts the conversation, asking if his sudden use of her first name means he's thinking about divorce. He dodges the question, instead lamenting how their years of hard work on a big opportunity have gone to waste. Her mother answers calmly that there's no point in regretting what's already done. Their quiet talk ends when Mizuki enters. Her presence fills the tense silence between them. Still bitter and cold, her father demands to know where she's been during her 3-day disappearance. Exhausted, Mizuki explains that her grandmother collapsed, underwent surgery, and is now in a coma. The hospital staff can't say when or if she will wake up. Her words tremble with confusion and frustration, but her father shows no sign of sympathy. His indifference pushes Mizuki past her limit. Without a word, she reaches out and touches his head. In an instant, blood runs from his nose and he collapses. Her mother, alarmed but composed, asks if he's dead. Mizuki replies flatly that he's alive. She only showed him a piece of the future, something too overwhelming for him to handle. The act is her silent rebellion, a release of everything she's held inside against the man who tried to control her life for his own ambitions. As Mizuki stands there, a memory flickers in her mind. Her younger self trying to explain the source of her power to see the future. But the memory is blurry, as if someone erased parts of it. She and Sojiro can't fully make out what her younger self said. Mizuki suspects that Sakuya may have tampered with her memories, believing that knowledge to be unnecessary or dangerous for her to keep. She tells Sojiro that showing people the future is far more unstable than showing them the past. The future carries too much weight. It can destroy a person's mind. Her mother, watching quietly, breaks the tension with a dry question, asking whether Mizuki plans to use her powers on her next. Mizuki fires back, asking if her mother intends to force her into more of her father's schemes. Her mother denies it, reflecting instead on their family. She says that she, her husband, and Mizuki's grandmother are all too similar, stubborn, proud, and terrible at communicating. It's this that has caused years of conflict across generations. Sojiro nods in agreement and jokingly adds that Mizuki could stand to be a little more open herself. Her mother laughs softly, saying she feels free now that she no longer has to take part in her husband's wild plans. She even suggests to Mizuki that they could run away together someday, live simply, far from all the chaos. But Mizuki refuses. She says she's staying where she is. Her mother smiles sadly, telling her that when she's stronger, they should have a proper boxing match. As she prepares to leave, she tells Mizuki she believes in her strength and to call if she ever needs help. Mizuki's reply is sharp but full of hidden emotion. She says her mother shouldn't bother coming back, that she'll give her all the money she's earned, and that next time they meet, she'll punch her for real. Beneath her words, though, lies affection she can't express. Watching them, Sojiro quietly asks if that's really how families should part. Mizuki looks away and answers that it doesn't matter. No matter what she does, people will always expect things from her. If she uses her powers, she's exploited. If she holds back, she's called heartless. And if she runs away, she's hunted down. That, she says, is the curse she can't escape. Living as someone defined only by her ability, not by who she really is. Yet in that quiet moment, Mizuki admits one thing to herself. Sojiro is different. He's the only one who has ever truly seen her. Not the fortune teller, not the godchild, but just Mizuki. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Mizuki apologizes to Sojiro, thanking him for staying by her side through her long, monotonous life. She ends her reflection with a faint smile, realizing that meeting Sojiro was the moment her world began to change, bringing a touch of color to her otherwise gray and lonely existence. After her parents disappear from her life, Sakuya takes on the role of caring for young Mizuki, honoring her teacher's request. Despite her strict, no-nonsense personality, Sakuya's care carries a quiet warmth. Over time, she becomes a central figure in Mizuki's early years. One day, while Mizuki walks through an alley, a few local thugs start teasing her. Their words barely affect her expression, but her sharp replies leave them stunned. The words of a young girl hardened far too early by life. When Mizuki returns home, Sakuya looks her over carefully, suspecting she used her fortune-telling powers again. She scolds Mizuki gently, warning her not to rely too much on those abilities, calling them a dangerous double-edged sword. Mizuki, with her usual mix of pride and sarcasm, corrects her, saying it's a superpower, not fortune-telling. Beneath her playful tone, though, there's a quiet longing, a wish for her powers to be seen as something more than just a tool or a curse. Sakuya, keeping her calm and teacher-like demeanor, reminds her to learn self-control, especially as she's entering her teenage years. Mizuki defends herself, grumbling about how annoying people can be, her voice full of frustration. Sakuya advises her to learn composure. She'll need it when she starts living on her own soon. When Mizuki teases Sakuya about still being single, it adds a spark of humor to the moment. Sakuya responds with her usual mix of wit and authority, ending the exchange with a playful yet firm reprimand that leaves Mizuki rubbing her cheek and muttering about fairness. Despite her complaints, there's a flicker of respect in her eyes, a quiet acknowledgement of Sakuya's strength and care. Later, Mizuki thinks about Sakuya's advice on finding someone special. Her thoughts are skeptical, tinged with vulnerability she doesn't want to admit. But her train of thought is suddenly interrupted. The same thugs from before have returned. This time they're bolder, but Mizuki's sharp tongue quickly cuts through their arrogance, exposing the leader's insecurities with unnerving precision. Her words sting like blades, showing both her intelligence and the bitterness carved into her by loss. When the leader lunges at her, Mizuki dodges with ease, her movements quick and controlled. Inside, she questions the cruelty of fate. Why someone as kind as her grandmother could be taken away while people like these still walk free. Outwardly, though, she stays composed, mocking the group with calm, cutting remarks. Just as she's about to strike back, the situation changes unexpectedly. A young boy, Sojiro, bursts into the alley, throwing himself between her and the thugs with an almost ridiculous kind of bravery. He tries to calm them with logic and flattery, but his words only confuse them, and they quickly shove him aside. Even so, there's something genuine about him, a disarming sincerity that momentarily diffuses the tension. When Sojiro suddenly collapses, Mizuki starts to walk away but stops when she sees a pool of blood near him. Against her usual instincts, she kneels beside him to check if he's okay, a small act of compassion slipping through her guarded shell. To her surprise, Sojiro admits that some of the blood is fake, left over from a school event, though the rest is real. The absurdity of it makes Mizuki pause, torn between annoyance and reluctant amusement. Despite his clumsy attempt to help, she can't ignore the fact that he genuinely tried. As she tends to his wound, Mizuki suddenly experiences a vision, a flash of the future where she and Sojiro are laughing together. The image unsettles her. The idea of such closeness feels foreign, almost impossible. Meanwhile, Sojiro, unaware of what she saw, thanks her casually for helping him. His kindness and cluelessness about her powers catch her off guard. His plain, honest nature stands in complete contrast to the chaos of her life, and that simplicity somehow draws her in. Their conversation turns unexpectedly funny when Mizuki asks if he has any supernatural powers. Sojiro just smiles and says he's only good at cooking and cleaning. His self-deprecating humor feels refreshingly normal to her. Yet when he admits that he's lost hope in life, his words reveal a quiet sadness beneath his cheerful surface. Mizuki's cynical remarks about humanity, about people's arrogance, and their blind faith in higher powers seem to resonate with him, even if he doesn't fully understand her pain. His simple outlook contrasts her bitterness, creating a strange but intriguing balance between them. When Mizuki jokingly offers to grant him a wish as thanks for protecting her, Sojiro surprises her by asking for something small, a plushie from an arcade game. The request is so trivial that it leaves her speechless, yet somehow it warms her heart. That simple, silly wish marks the beginning of something unexpected, the first spark of a bond that will slowly bring color back into Mizuki's monochrome world. Sojiro explains that winning the arcade game on his own would be impossible, implying that he needs Mizuki's help. Though his reasoning sounds sincere, Mizuki can't help but find his request absurdly trivial. She questions why she should bother with something so pointless. But Sojiro reminds her she had promised to grant any wish, no matter what it was. Reluctantly, Mizuki sighs, her pride and sense of obligation forcing her to keep her word. Inwardly, she debates the ridiculousness of the whole thing, but eventually decides to help. With quiet determination, she steps up to the machine, declaring that something designed for hairless apes shouldn't be much of a challenge for her. Sojiro can't help but laugh at her arrogance, yet her confidence oddly reassures him. Together, they take on the challenge, their contrasting styles forming an odd but effective rhythm. Mizuki's focus and precision shine, but her inexperience with arcade mechanics soon frustrates her. Meanwhile, Sojiro's easygoing attitude and occasional clumsiness bring a touch of lightness to the moment. As they bicker and adjust, their exchanges gradually soften into something that resembles teamwork. Against all odds, they manage to win the giant plushie. Sojiro's face lights up with childlike joy, his excitement catching Mizuki off guard. She scoffs at the absurd difficulty of the game, muttering that she never expected something so childish to be this grueling. Yet despite her words, there's a subtle spark of satisfaction in her eyes. When Sojiro hands her a plush Ankylosaurus, Mizuki frowns, asking what use she could possibly have for it. He smiles and explains that it's said to absorb misfortune, suggesting she might give it to someone important to her. That thought gives Mizuki pause. Her mind drifts briefly to Sakuya, and the idea of wishing her luck lingers longer than she'd like to admit. The moment turns playful again as Sojiro teases Mizuki about her poor gaming skills, reminding her how she struggled in the second half. She shoots back that he has no right to talk, considering how he kept losing track of his own cursor. Their banter flows easily, surprising Mizuki with how natural it feels, as if they've known each other far longer than a single day. Realizing how comfortable she's become, she quickly regains her composure and declares that their deal is complete. It's time to part ways. But Sojiro, ever persistent, challenges her to one more competition. Mizuki frowns, confused by his insistence, especially when he calls them friends. The word feels strange to her, almost foreign. Still, his playful energy stirs her competitive spirit, and she agrees. They face off again, and this time Mizuki wins decisively. When Sojiro admits defeat, he asks what punishment she'll choose. She requests a simple souvenir from the arcade, dismissing his attempts to negotiate an easier task. Sojiro tries again and again to win something, but fails each time. His funds dwindle, yet he refuses to give up. Watching his persistence, Mizuki finally relents, saying his determination has already fulfilled the penalty. Her casual claim that promises hold no real weight surprises Sojiro, who believes that even the smallest promises are worth keeping. To lighten the mood, he suggests ending their day with a gachapon machine, a game of luck. As the capsule rolls out, Sojiro muses that promises are like gambles, not with money but with time and trust. His words strike a chord in Mizuki, though she hides it behind her usual calm. Deep down, she knows he's right. But she also believes that promises are fragile, too easily broken by those who lack the strength to honor them. When the capsule opens, it reveals a set of girly piercings. Embarrassed, Sojiro apologizes, saying they probably don't suit her. To his surprise, Mizuki thanks him genuinely, saying she actually likes them. Her sincerity catches him completely off guard. As their night comes to an end, Sojiro admits that they might not see each other again. He doesn't own a phone, and she's only visiting the area. The thought saddens him, though he hides it behind a faint smile. Sensing his unease, Mizuki takes one of the piercings and offers him the other, suggesting they each keep one, as a promise to meet again someday. Sojiro's expression brightens, a genuine warmth spreading across his face as he accepts. In the present, as the memory resurfaces, Sojiro finally realizes that the mysterious boy from that night had been Mizuki all along. She acknowledges his recognition with a soft, knowing smile, addressing him by the nickname he had once asked her to use. As the fragments of memory fall into place, disbelief washes over Sojiro. The piercing he once dismissed as meaningless was actually proof of their shared past. The weight of having overlooked it stirs guilt and frustration. Mizuki, seeing his turmoil, explains what happened. She recounts how Sakuya, for reasons she still doesn't fully understand, had placed a subtle spell that warped people's perception, preventing anyone from realizing her true identity, even erasing the knowledge that she was a girl. The revelation leaves Sojiro uneasy. He questions Sakuya's motives, but Mizuki, calm and detached, admits she can only guess. Perhaps it had been her grandmother's order, a safeguard meant to protect her from the vulnerabilities of recognition. Her voice carries a quiet resignation, as though she has long grown used to living under the decisions of others. Sojiro, still unsettled, shifts the topic to Yuta, asking if Mizuki truly believes Yuta's resentment comes from the fortune she once gave her. Mizuki, with a firm but regretful tone, says yes, her reading had been truthful, even if it wasn't what Yuta wanted to hear. Being blamed for honesty, she admits, has always been her curse. She has spent her life delivering truths no one wants, and bearing the isolation that follows. But Sojiro presses further, asking if she truly believes her parents saw her only as a tool for their ambitions. The silence that follows is heavy. Finally, Mizuki nods, her voice soft, devoid of anger. Only sadness. She admits that Sojiro is the one exception. He is the only person who has ever seen her as more than her abilities, someone who treats her as a person, not a weapon or a prophecy. The moment hangs fragile in the air, until Sojiro, with visible regret, tells her the words she dreads. He cannot return her feelings. The confession strikes her like a physical blow. For a heartbeat, Mizuki stands frozen. Then, slowly, she lowers her gaze, trying to steady her trembling voice. The ache in her chest is quiet, but unmistakable. When Mizuki finally speaks, her words come with a hollow laugh, a fragile mask of indifference that fails to hide her trembling hands. She brushes off her own emotions, pretending they don't matter, even as her voice wavers. Sojiro calls her name, concern clear in his tone, but Mizuki quickly excuses herself, saying she needs some fresh air. Outside, the cool night breeze touches her skin, but it does little to calm the storm inside her. As she sits alone, lost in thought, UTA appears out of nowhere, loud, teasing, and completely unbothered by the tension. Mistaking Mizuki's silence for tears, UTA cracks a crude joke about how to deal with rejection. Mizuki doesn't respond. Her silence says more than words ever could. Realizing something's off, UTA disappears briefly and returns with a drink. It's a small, unexpected gesture of care. When Mizuki finally breaks the silence, she asks bluntly what UTA wants from her. Her tone is defensive, but UTA answers with surprising honesty, accusing Mizuki of acting superior and isolating herself behind her intellect and pride. The words sting. Mizuki, stung but unflinching, admits that she holds the power of prophecy, something that could change or destroy the world if she wished. But UTA isn't impressed. She tells Mizuki that power, wealth, and intelligence mean nothing without real human connection. Her words hit deep. Mizuki can't deny the truth in them. In a rare moment of honesty, she confesses that everyone around her only wants to use her. Everyone except Sojiro. She admits she desires him because he feels genuine, untouched by selfish motives. But UTA twists her words, asking if Mizuki is using Sojiro too, using him to fill her own emptiness. The question catches Mizuki off guard, forcing her to confront feelings she'd rather ignore. UTA reminds her that only she can truly understand her emotions, though she clearly hasn't yet. The mood shifts suddenly when UTA dozes off mid-conversation. Mizuki blinks in disbelief, When UTA wakes a few moments later, she accuses Mizuki of doing something inappropriate while she slept, leaving Mizuki exasperated. The absurdity of it all lightens the air for a moment, though the heaviness between them doesn't truly fade. Meanwhile, Sojiro is far from idle. Late at night, he makes several phone calls, his voice steady and determined, as he arranges something important. The next morning, he's at Kuko Airport, a mix of nerves and purpose on his face, as he prepares to leave for somewhere unknown. Back at school, Mizuki notices his absence. Her curiosity mixes with disappointment. Her friends speculate wildly about where he might be, but none of their guesses satisfy her. Alone in the club room, Mizuki feels her loneliness more deeply than ever. Her usual calm composure is gone, replaced by quiet melancholy. Days pass, and Mizuki stops going to school. At home, she isolates herself, barely eating or speaking. The silence of her room becomes a cage. Her friends worry, but none of them know how to reach her. Somewhere far away, Sojiro stares at a photograph, deep in thought. Whatever he's planning, it's clear he's doing it for her. Then, one day, Mizuki finally leaves her room and finds Sojiro standing there. The sight of him catches her completely off guard. He greets her cheerfully, his brightness clashing with her exhaustion. When he notes that she looks like she hasn't eaten in days, his concern feels both tender and intrusive. He's made porridge for her, a simple act, yet one that unsettles her. When he begins handing her souvenirs from his trip, she can't tell if he's joking or serious. First are cookies that supposedly make you sleep like a dog, then a strange doll, then a piece of alien ore. Each item seems more ridiculous than the last, but his earnest expression keeps her from dismissing him outright. Mizuki calls his gifts scary, though it's clear her words carry another meaning. What really frightens her isn't the souvenirs, it's him, his persistence, his unpredictability, his refusal to stay away even after rejecting her. Her questions spill out. Why he's there, why he went so far, why he keeps crossing lines she's trying to hold. When he mentions Sakuya's involvement, Mizuki's suspicion grows. She knows how far Sakuya's influence can reach, but hearing Sojiro tie his journey to her guardian's plans makes her uneasy. Finally, she sinks onto the sofa, drained by everything. The conversation, her emotions, his presence. She mutters bitterly about how strange it is for someone to invade the home of the girl he turned down. Before she can say more, Sojiro gently lifts a spoon of porridge to her lips. The gesture freezes her. It's too intimate, too unexpected. Then, in his usual offbeat tone, Sojiro starts talking about traveling to a foreign land called Menaporon in search of someone. Mizuki stares at him, dumbfounded, pointing out that such a place doesn't exist. But Sojiro keeps going, telling an outrageous story about being used as a sacrifice and escaping cattle mutilation. Mizuki can see through every part of it, yet somehow his willingness to spin such a ridiculous tale just to make her smile leaves her conflicted. She doesn't know whether to laugh, get angry, or be moved by his persistence. When Sojiro finally reveals that the person he was searching for had been in Japan all along, Mizuki's curiosity deepens. His voice changes, calm but serious, carrying a weight that makes her listen closely. He tells her there's someone she needs to meet, someone essential for her to truly move forward with her life. The words unsettle her. A strange mix of fear and anticipation builds in her chest. Who could this person be? And why does Sojiro think they're so important to her future? Even as confusion clouds her thoughts, Mizuki feels her defenses starting to crumble. Sojiro's words, his actions, and his calm persistence all blur the line between her resentment and hope. Despite his odd stories and strange gifts, a part of her wants to believe he sees her as more than just the girl he once rejected. Yet as his final revelation sinks in, she feels fragile again, unsure what to expect next. Sojiro takes Mizuki to the hospital. His face is calm, but there's something unreadable in his eyes. She can't guess his intentions, though she suspects it has something to do with her parents, a thought that makes her uneasy, especially since they're heading toward the same hospital where her grandmother has been confined. As they walk down the quiet corridor, Mizuki silently debates the idea of seeing her father. It seems impossible. He's never been the kind of man to visit hospitals, let alone care about family matters. The thought that he might be here for something important feels absurd. Years of emotional distance have hardened her expectations. But as they near her grandmother's room, her steps slow. Her unease grows sharper. And then, she freezes. A familiar figure stands by the door. Her father. The sight of him hits her like a wave. Shock, anger, disbelief. Memories of his absence, his coldness, and his indifference flood her mind, twisting her gut with resentment. What could he possibly be doing here after all this time? When he finally looks at her, his reaction is maddeningly casual, as if no years had passed, as if nothing had ever been broken. His calm greeting feels like a slap. Something inside Mizuki snaps. Her anger surges before she can stop it. She rushes forward, lashing out with a kick that sends him sprawling to the floor. The outburst feels satisfying for a moment, a small release after years of bottled-up pain, until Sojiro steps in, gently holding her back. His restraint frustrates her, but his quiet tone carries understanding, as though he knows just how much she's been holding inside. Before Mizuki can process what's happening, her mother appears. Her presence brings a different kind of unease, not anger, but discomfort. Her cheerful greeting feels almost mocking in its brightness, and her comment about it being a while only deepens the absurdity of the scene. Mizuki can barely believe her parents are standing there together. Then her mother looks down at her father, still on the floor, and snorts. "You haven't changed since high school," she says, before splashing him with a bottle of water. The moment feels surreal, like something out of a bad dream, a strange comedy built on years of emotional distance. When her mother casually admits that they've both been visiting Mizuki's grandmother for years, the words cut deep. Mizuki had always believed her parents didn't care about her grandmother at all. Hearing this truth now feels like betrayal. Her mother explains that her father came more often because her grandmother disliked her side of the family. The explanation does nothing to ease Mizuki's hurt. Instead, it deepens her frustration. The fact that her father had been visiting all this time, while she remained completely in the dark, feeds her bitterness. Her father, now back on his feet, brushes everything aside with a dismissive tone. He says he's not here for pointless talk. The coldness in his voice makes Mizuki's blood boil. She tries to lunge at him again, but Sojiro catches her before she can. His calm grip steadies her, anchoring her in the chaos. Her father barely looks at her as he heads toward her grandmother's room. "Keep that rabid dog on a leash," he mutters to Sojiro. The insult hits hard, sharp, cruel, and too familiar. Mizuki's mind races. His words confirm every belief she's ever had about him, that she was nothing more than a nuisance, a disappointment. As he disappears into the room, Mizuki's thoughts spiral. She remembers his disdain for pointless matters, connecting it to her grandmother's delayed diagnosis. In her heart, she blames them, both of them, for wasting precious time, for letting her grandmother's condition worsen until recovery became impossible. The realization crushes her. Her future, she thinks bitterly, is no brighter than her grandmother's, cold, empty, and without hope. The weight of everything, her grandmother's illness, her parents' reappearance, Sojiro's distance, presses down on her until she feels she might break. Even Sojiro, the one person she longs for, feels unreachable now. In that moment, Mizuki is certain of one thing: she will always be alone. Then the air shifts. Sakuya enters. Her presence fills the room, calm but heavy, carrying a quiet power that demands attention. She looks at Mizuki and reminds her of the lessons she's tried to teach her, to control her emotions, to master her power instead of letting it rule her. Her words are firm, but to Mizuki, they sound condescending. Years of frustration rise up in her chest. Sakuya speaks like a mentor, like someone who understands, but she's always kept her distance. Mizuki's resentment boils over. She can't stand the idea of being lectured again by someone who's never truly been there. In her mind, she wonders bitterly how long it will take before Sakuya leaves her too. Everyone does. Eventually, Sakuya stays calm despite Mizuki's anger. Her voice is sharp and precise, as she warns that Mizuki's uncontrolled powers are becoming dangerous. The claim that her growing strength could be killing her grandmother leaves Mizuki stunned. Guilt and fear crash over her like a wave. For Sojiro, Sakuya's words suddenly connect all the hints he'd ignored before. Her cryptic warnings about imbalance, the way she spoke of time being distorted between Mizuki and her grandmother. Now he finally understands. Two people in the same bloodline cannot safely hold such immense temporal power at once. Sakuya speaks steadily, though regret lingers behind every word. She recalls her sensei's teachings about the Mizuki family's rare gift and its terrible cost. Mizuki listens, torn between disbelief and a painful understanding, until the truth hits. Her grandmother's fading life is directly tied to her own awakening power. Then comes another blow. Sakuya admits that Mizuki's powers were hidden on purpose, disguised as mere fortune-telling to keep them from growing too strong. The revelation makes Mizuki's heart twist. It feels like her entire childhood was built on lies, her family protecting her by deceiving her. Sakuya pauses, her composure slipping just enough to reveal exhaustion. She confesses that she has never known what family truly means. She cannot give Mizuki the warmth or guidance she needs. Instead, she says quietly that she's asked Sojiro to take her place, to be the one who stays by Mizuki's side. The request shakes him. Sojiro has always been drawn to Mizuki, but being called her guardian carries a weight he isn't sure he can bear. Inside the hospital room, tension thickens. Guilt, anger, and confusion mix into something heavy and suffocating. Mizuki starts to believe that her existence itself has cursed her grandmother, that her power is draining the one person she loves most. But Sakuya interrupts her spiraling thoughts with another revelation. After long talks with Mizuki's father, they've decided to transfer her grandmother's power to him. The process, she explains, will bring her grandmother back to life, but it will cost him his own. Men of the Mizuki line cannot use the power, only contain it long enough for the transfer to complete. Mizuki's reaction is instant and fierce. She refuses to accept it, shouting that her father has no right to make that choice, especially after all the years he treated his mother with coldness and contempt. Her father, surprisingly, doesn't deny it. His calm, controlled mask cracks just slightly as he speaks. He admits that he's carried bitterness all his life, growing up poor, watching his mother struggle as she refused to use her powers for profit, feeling humiliated by her pride and ideals. His voice trembles with old anger, but beneath it is something raw, a kind of respect he could never admit before. He confesses that this isn't about forgiveness or love. It's about a promise, one he made long ago to Mizuki, to one day bring her closer to her grandmother. His words hit Mizuki hard, cutting through years of resentment and confusion. The room falls silent. Sakuya, sensing how close everyone is to breaking, declares that they should begin the transfer. Her tone is steady, but there's an urgency underneath. Mizuki's mother finally speaks, her voice soft but resolute. She asks her husband if he truly accepts what's about to happen. His answer is calm and absolute. He has no regrets. Whether he believes it or not, no one can tell. The silence that follows feels endless. Sakuya's composure, Sojiro's quiet unease, her father's grim resolve, and her mother's hidden sorrow all hang in fragile balance. For Mizuki, the weight becomes unbearable. Everything, her family's choices, her guilt, her powers, her isolation, converges in this one moment. Sojiro watches her carefully before speaking. His voice is low but sincere. He asks if she's really willing to let her father go without saying what she needs to say. His words pierce straight through her defenses. Mizuki realizes that all her anger toward her father was only a shield, a way to hide the pain of wanting anyone to share her grief. She remembers her grandmother collapsing, her mother growing distant, Sakuya's emotional walls. Everyone she's ever loved has left her. It feels like a curse, a fate that won't let her be loved without losing someone. Her voice trembles as she finally speaks, unable to hold it back any longer. I can't bear to be left behind again. Sojiro, understanding the weight of Mizuki's words, gently reassures her. His hand comes to rest on her head, a rare gesture of warmth. With quiet confidence, he tells her there's another way, one where no one has to sacrifice themselves. Intrigued but cautious, Sakuya pauses the ritual and allows him to explain. Sojiro begins to speak of his strange life experiences, run-ins with Ryu, alien abductions, brushes with danger, all the bizarre events that shaped his resilience. Beneath the humor, though, lies something serious. He believes the true solution is for Mizuki to give up her powers entirely and live as an ordinary person. Sakuya's expression darkens. She explains that Mizuki's powers have become part of her very being, silently protecting and guiding her every day. Losing them would be like losing a vital sense. Something as simple as crossing the street, once done with unconscious foresight, would now require full awareness. Without her precognition, Mizuki would have to navigate the world as everyone else does, vulnerable and uncertain. Even so, Sakuya asks if Mizuki values her father's life enough to face that risk. Before Mizuki can answer, her father intervenes. His voice is steady but heavy. He insists the choice shouldn't rest on her shoulder, yet his words only stir more questions in Mizuki, questions that have lingered for years. Her frustration spills out. She demands to know why he stayed close to her grandmother all these years if he resented her so much. Why did he live in quiet proximity, pretending indifference? Why build wealth he barely used except in moments of necessity? And most of all, what really happened that night? Everything changed. Was even Sakuya's presence part of something planned? Her words echo in the room. Not just accusation, but longing. A deep need for truth. For the first time, Mizuki realizes that understanding her family, their secrets, resentments, and love might be the only way to finally heal. She resolves that once her grandmother awakens, they must face everything together. No more silence or avoidance. Sakuya studies her with a mixture of caution and respect. She asks one last time if Mizuki is sure about giving up her powers, knowing the cost. Mizuki nods with new clarity. Her powers have brought her nothing but pain, distance, fear, and isolation. She's ready to move forward, not as a prophet bound by fate, but as a person willing to embrace life's uncertainties beside those she loves. As the ritual resumes, Mizuki braces herself. This isn't just the loss of power, it's the beginning of something new, a chance at connection, understanding, and maybe peace. A few days later at school, Mizuki notices Ren and UTA preparing for lunch. UTA has forgotten her bento, and the two debate where to eat. The conversation is ordinary, yet Mizuki feels a quiet distance, a reminder that she's still learning how to belong in a world she no longer sees before it happens. Then, to her surprise, UTA turns and invites her to join them. It's a small gesture, but it cuts through Mizuki's isolation. For once, she feels included. As they walk together, Mizuki asks what breaking out means. UTA explains casually that leaving school grounds during lunch is against the rules. Anyone caught gets a disciplinary card. Mizuki listens, realizing how much she still doesn't know about the normal rhythms of life she once observed from afar. From a distance, Sojiro watches her with quiet pride. Seeing Mizuki laugh, even a little, fills him with relief. She's learning to live without the crutch of foresight, to stumble and discover on her own. It's imperfect, but it's real. Later, the uncertainty returns. Her grandmother still hasn't woken up, and worry lingers like a shadow. But this time, Mizuki feels a strange peace. The loss of her powers doesn't leave a void. Instead, it feels like shedding a heavy burden, a return to something simpler, something human. Sojiro notices the change too. He holds a small box in his hand, something like a ring case, and wonders what the future holds for Mizuki now that she must face it without supernatural guidance. He doesn't know what comes next, but he feels responsible for staying beside her. That evening, as they talk about her grandmother's fortune-telling, Mizuki finds herself wondering why her grandmother, so mysterious and wise, devoted herself to predicting others' futures. Sojiro smiles and says maybe that's a question only her grandmother can answer once she wakes. The thought comforts Mizuki, even as it stirs new curiosity. Suddenly remembering that club activities were canceled, she decides to visit the hospital. Sojiro insists on accompanying her. When they arrive, they run into Mo, who looks unusually disheveled. Concerned, Mizuki asks if she's all right. Mo sighs, explaining that her time with Sakuya was intense, that Sakuya showed her a world she could barely comprehend. Even now, she's struggling to process it all. But what truly catches Mizuki's attention is Mo's mention of her grandmother. Mo says she's slowly getting used to the strangeness around Sakuya, but her presence still makes her dizzy, even nauseous. Mizuki's pulse quickens. Fear grips her. Without thinking, she rushes toward her grandmother's room, terrified she's already too late, forgetting in her panic that she no longer has the power to see what waits ahead. Her steps falter. The path that once felt certain now feels impossibly fragile. As Mizuki stumbles, the realization hits her like a wave. She has truly lost it. The one thing that once guided her every step, the one thing that made her feel safe and certain, is gone. She no longer holds control over the future. Fear grips her chest, cold and sudden. But then Sojiro is there. His hands catch her before she falls, steady and reassuring. His voice is calm, grounding her as he tells her to slow down, to breathe. "There's no need to hurry," he says gently. Mizuki's breath evens out. Though her heart still races, she steadies herself. She knows now she can't move through life the way she used to, guided by unseen certainty. The world ahead is unpredictable, and that terrifies her. But it's also real. Finally, after what feels like an eternity of doubt and fear, Mizuki opens the door to her grandmother's room. The sight before her steals her breath. Her grandmother is awake. For a moment, Mizuki can't move. Her chest tightens as her grandmother's eyes, warm and clear, meet hers. In that gaze, everything Mizuki has feared, hoped for, and carried in silence surges to the surface. "Mizuki," her grandmother whispers, her voice soft yet strong. That familiar sound breaks through every wall Mizuki has built. She rushes forward without thinking, collapsing into her grandmother's arms as tears spill down her cheeks. The world feels both overwhelming and comforting all at once. Her grandmother holds her close, and for the first time in so long, Mizuki feels it, a sense of belonging, of home. Trembling, she calls out her grandmother's name again, her voice cracking between sobs. She doesn't care about the tears, the fear, or the uncertainty, because right now, in this single fleeting moment, nothing else matters. The bell rang, and the girl, who was wearing a long maxi with a bouquet of flowers in her hand, walking forward a guy. The bell kept on ringing and made the girl wake up from the dream. It was her dream where she was walking down the aisle. It had been years since she had had a dream dot. Within school in the storage room, she was crying in front of a blonde boy, who got his hand over her head for the sake of consoling and moved away. She sat there and started crying, placing in her knees. Suddenly, someone entered and asked Rin if it was the person she liked the most. It was a girl with blonde hair. She asked him why she was there. The girl answered that she came there to buy something to drink. She asked the girl if it was normal for Sojiro-san to come at times like that. The girl rather said that she thought that she was crying. She answered that she was not crying because he had already cried as much as you wanted before. The blonde good, after why she decided to confess then. The girl answered that she also wondered. When she saw her, she said to herself not to run away. She felt like she should also try her best. The blonde girl handed her over the tin to drink while reading what was written on the tin, that it was a carbonated barley drink for people of all ages. She wondered if anything like that actually existed in the school. She told the girl that she remembered her first conversation with her. The crying girl cheered up and asked her that she felt like she had seen Mizuki-san somewhere before. She asked her if her house was near that area. The blonde girl straightforwardly asked her if she wanted her to read her future, then she could directly say that. She didn't need to threaten her, as she would do that for her for free. After that, both the girls burst into laughter. Sajiro reached the club and he saw that Senpai wasn't there yet. He was wondering that the club room was surprisingly so quiet when someone stood there alone. Suddenly, the girl entered. He called her Senpai and she started telling him that she was talking to Rin and the others, so that she got late. Sajiro said to her that it was hard to comfort UTA, so they were going to have a comforting party soon. The girl asked what was that. He replied that there was nothing, as he just thought that he already made up with Ude-chan. She told how to shut up. Then he asked her how was that with her parents. After that, then she replied if it hadn't been for Grandma, she wouldn't have headed her so much. He thought that all the things were keeping aside, it was clear that she was not a normal parent. She pondered that all she did was to use a way of taking out her anger and others. She kept on thinking that she would have never been selfish and her parents have never forced her to do anything. Even if she says something, no one would listen to her. Everyone was just wanting to use her power, and she was just assuming everything by herself. Of course, there were also those kinds of people whom she really wanted to help. But how should she put it? She thought that it was wrong to think in terms of 1 or 100, and that was why, since then, it wasn't bad. But it was not good either. Sajiro at once held her hand and asked her senpai how about if they get married. She got shocked and at once withdrew her hand from him and answered that she didn't want to. Sajiro was taking a bath in a bathtub. Suddenly, Rim entered cheerfully. She walked in naked and asked him what a coincidence it was to find him there. She playfully said to him that opportunities like that didn't come around very often, and asked him if they played at the bathhouse there. He turned away and asked him if she had eaten another poisonous mushroom again. She said something flirtatious instead. He thought his sister's brain ran away from its home. He told her that he was leaving now. On hearing this, she sat on the floor and started to blackmail him by doing unauthentic moves and taunted him to dare to leave then. He wanted to leave so badly, but she said that she would tattle him to Mom. He got frustrated and asked her what she wanted him to do. She told him that she wanted him to wash her back. He took a pause for a minute and thought that there was no other option left. He started rubbing her back and asked how her school was going and if she was studying well. She told him to shut up. He was so surprised by her behavior and asked her what was wrong with her. She looked back and told him that she got a boyfriend. On hearing these words uttering out of her mouth, he slipped and fell down. He fell onto the ground. He stammered on the boyfriend. He asked if his sister's boyfriend's human rights were not recognized by the Constitution. She answered what if that was the case. He said that he was determined to kill him, just like normal. Rin got surprised and asked her what he was talking about. He requested her to bring him home once. She refused to do so because she knew that he was going to kill him, and she would not let that happen. He was wondering that even Rain got a boyfriend, even though she was so smart. Rin asked him, would he be feeling lonely if she got a boyfriend? He said that he would be lonely, but once he would get himself, he would be celebrating it. She told him that she was Siscon. While pulling his hair, Siscon implied, the one who is extremely attached with his brother. He was extremely surprised to learn that, and then she said that she was just kidding. Sajiro stood up and ran away at once. She was thinking what a bizarre creature he was. Sajiro then sat on the sofa and wondered if it was already summer. He was thinking about the kind of poisonous mushroom that Rain had eaten. Rin was standing at the door while looking at him. She asked him while standing there if he was talking on Rhine with his wife. On hearing, Sajiro jumped off his position and asked her how she knew about it. She bluntly told him, dirty propose, even though he wasn't even dating and got rejected, and that was a huge turnoff. Sajiro got frustrated and annoyed. He said that he was told it was okay to date, and normally if you get a girlfriend, it wouldn't be okay to give a brief to your sister. But an issue was he proposed to his sister's friend, and it was quite different than normal. She questioned him why he didn't tell her that he was interested in her friend. He answered that he thought that she wouldn't be interested in her brother's love life. She said that was not the case at all, and it was not like she was interested or anything. She meant that it was just for resolution. Whatever the case was, she was still his little sister, and still he didn't tell her anything. Then he asked Rin to come close to him. She gave him a very cold look and asked what it meant. because in her eyes, it was gross, stinky, and kind of sticky. She placed her head in her brother's lap. Sojiro said that if he got a girlfriend, he would still stay as Rin-chan's Oni-chan. Rin said that it was not something she was worrying about. Sojiro asked a blonde girl who was Mizuki to play a twister game. She was surprised to hear that he compensated his words by saying that he meant a game that was good for health. The girl replied that it was quite crazy. He asked why she said that. She responded that somehow he looked creepy. He got stunned to hear that and raised his hand to touch her face. And he said Bloody Dirty was asking her to play a naked, slimy twister game with her and asking her why she was raising the hurdle. She was willing to play a game but did not agree to that naked part, and she also said it was not possible for them to play just the two of them. Suddenly a girl entered the room and asked if she was being called up. She asked her if she had gotten her hair extension. It was Sakuya. She answered that it was that time of the year. Sakuya asked if they lived like cats and dogs. Sakura told her that it was a good time for her to come as she had a curse twister mat right there. The girl got done and asked if she had created a cursed object. Sojiro thought that Saku, you know anything about that stuff? She saw Sojiro. He was sitting so ready on that mat. He asked him why he was so ready. He asked if there was any location, to which she answered yes, there was. The girl started to clean up and ordered another one to clean up too. At once they saw Sojiro turned into some weird creature form. One of them asked why he was turning into modern art all by himself. Saku said it was because he got cursed. Mizuki then, what should she do as she got so anxious and frustrated? Saku told her that it was probably the curse of an erotic happening stage set. Saku then said if it wouldn't be okay to just flirt with him as usual, or to do something as a little naughty and make him blush. Mizuki said she was not going to do that. Sojiro then started to misbehave with her ethically, that she called up Sakuya to help her as it had nothing to do with the twister game anymore and she couldn't move her body freely. She asked Sakuya what she was doing. He answered she was refueling the curse. At once, Sakuya thought of leaving it alone as of her slimy grudge because she found it fun to see. Sojiro thought that it was the first time he had been manipulated. He used to manipulate people all the time, but he was very happy as he was enjoying the moment. And he wanted to do something about that. He was so confused as his hands were moving on his own. Sakuya was not helping at all. But still, she said that it was so slimy and sloppy that she couldn't concentrate on helping them. Sakuya was about to leave when Mizuki called her and said he was crossing the line again. She was yelling and crying, asking for help, but Sakuya was enjoying and not helping at all. Suddenly, out of the blue, someone entered the room and asked what they were doing. It was Granny. Mizuki was surprised to see her as she asked him what she was doing there, and she answered it. She had been called. She asked Granny to do something about that first. Granny asked if it was about Sakuya's prank. Granny did some childish thing that made Sojiro get off Mizuki. Sakuya got stuck. Nobody knew how it happened. Sojiro asked if she was alive. She answered barely. Mizuki could only save her panty. They were stunned to see her groin as it was her hair growth period. Granny told them to stop saying indecent things. In the meantime, Mizuki noticed that something was coming out of her brain. She asked Sojiro if her brain juice was coming out. She requested him to store it if it was really coming out. He responded that it was not like that. Sakuya said if she had gotten a sweat headache and asked if her brain was sticking out. He got frustrated with all that conversation. Sakuya finally decided to leave, and she eventually left. After that, Mizuki asked him to clear all the mess to Sojiro by teasingly calling him Mr. Boyfriend. He suggested to wipe her body and then clean up by calling her Miss Girlfriend. Sojiro saw a shadowy figure and thought it was the rule of mankind. He found it so cute, and then he realized it was a cat. As it was only a shadow, it didn't have any facial features and it looked kind of a raddish black. He thought whatever it was so cute. Suddenly the cat meow toward him and asked him about himself. He got so stunned and said it was disgusting that a cat was talking. The cat answered that it wasn't disgusting, but he was cute, so she could forgive him even if he tried to recruit her to a multi-level marketing scheme. He was surprised, and the cat Neko-chan ran away. Sojiro thought that she was so cute, so he would forgive her, and it was time to be a stalker. After chasing the cat, he found so many cats and the corpse. He asked if everything was okay. The corpse spoke up. It was of a girl. She responded that she was in need of the blood. He helped her to take a drop of blood. The corpse said that she was so humble, and she appreciated him a lot. Sojiro said that there were no worries as he was rescued by the UFO in a mysterious country the other day. The girl replied that he was talking about something very disgusting. He asked her why she ended up in a place like that. The girl said that she happened to come across a sacred tree, but when she messed up with it, she was dropped from the atmosphere. She thought that she was going to die, But everything was over then. She thanked him for helping her, and she called him the disgusting boy. Then he introduced himself with his name Sakagami Sujiro, and then he asked her name. She responded that she knew that names were important, and then she said that she would give him a reward for his kindness. He was surprised to hear that. Sujiro asked him if there was makeup on her cheeks, as a kitty makeup, as there were lines drawn on her face. She responded that these were her remaining lives. She asked him if he was satisfied and fine with that answer as his reward. She said that youngsters were so boring those days. She was surprised at why he didn't wish for immortality as a reward, as selflessness wasn't a virtue. And she reduced herself that Henja was her name, and it was a pleasure to meet him, child from the land of a Yamato. Yamato was the name of Japan in those days. She paid her gratitude for saving her this time. Suddenly, the cat Neko-chan interrupted her. After being disrupted, she returned back to the Sujiro and said that let her give him something better than a beast. She then used the magic and got something. And then she told him it was nicely made and she would give this to him. He asked what should he be doing with that thing. Henja said that it was the same figure as her body. It was a flash doll that could withstand a variety of uses. She told him to use it however he would like to. Sujiro said that he didn't get it and asked him if she was saying something naughty. And then he bluntly said that he had a girlfriend and he was not going to accept it. Henja said it was not like that he could only use that doll for erotic things. She asked him if that was a problem, as it was just a lump of meat, and it didn't count as cheating. He still responded that he had a girlfriend, and then she said she would kill him. Then she yelled that she was not supposed to be one who could be underestimated. Then she told him that she could change the size of her breasts too. And she also had the blood of a rare fire species. Then Sujiro said that he would prefer a more adult-like physique. Then she at once transformed herself into adult physique, and so did the flesh doll. The Sujiro hot tempted. She offered him to take the doll and go home, but still he refused and said he would prefer Neko-chan instead. She got so frustrated and said that she had decided that she was going to kill him. He made him lay down and sat on him. Suddenly, Uta-chin came there and saw him in that condition and asked what he was doing. She asked him if he was cheating. Henja got frustrated and told her to get lost. Livestock, as it wasn't a show. Then she said to live like a livestock, eat poops, leave children, and survive just like pigs. Uta-chin got so frustrated and asked what was happening, and then she looked at Henja and recognized what an unimproved species. She kept on laughing that her stomach hurt, and then she asked if that was a strange creature, similar to the one from the previous works of his girlfriend. He nodded that probably it was that thing. Uta-chin then asked him if he suddenly proposed to Mizuki senpai. She was so ferocious and asked him if he was just toying with her, and then she taunted him that why shouldn't they hang out together next time with senpai and Rin. Henja was laughing so hard at all that scenario. Uta-chin again asked him why he was there. He responded that he came there by chasing a cat. Shen then asked Sujiro if he was a cat lover and said that she had one at home and told him to come and see it, and in response, he had to show him his grown. Henja was suspicious and flirtatious to hear that too. Henja, on hearing that, took her earlier reward back and gave one of her wavering eyes to him. She said that if he took that, then he would be able to contact her. Henja then told her that she could solve most things if he would rely on her, and then she left on a beast. Uta-chin asked if he had sold something. He replied no, he thought that she would probably be the type of villain who was up to something. Uta-chin looked at him and said that senpai was favored by strange people. Then Uta left by saying it was her part-time now. Sergio thanked him for his hard work and wished him for the best. The only people he had ever met with the office I take for from Japan were Mizuki and probably Amatsumo, and then there was Kamiki, whose name was mentioned earlier. He was holding the eyeball that Henjo gifted him and thought if he could call her. The girl was sitting with the bed as if she was awake from sleep, their eyeball lying on the table. It was the same eyeball that Henja gifted Sujiro. This girl was the Sujiro who got transformed into the female. Sujiro came out and called upon the Rim and said that she had become a girl somehow. He also asked if that wasn't funny and requested her not to laugh. Rim looked at him and asked what was their breakfast. Her brother replied that he guessed that food was more important than his brother's turning into a sister for her. She bluntly and straightforwardly said that his appearance wasn't important to her at all. Sujiro found her remarks so cheap. She told her that Ashoka won't mind him being transformed into the girl. The girl Sujiro that his abilities wouldn't allow him to do anything physically to the body. He decided to do something about the teacher. In the meantime, he was going to tease the boys and have fun. The news of Sujiro becoming a girl eventually reached the group of girls. Tsukimi told Mizuki that he certainly turned into a girl after he woke up. Asuka was so confused to learn that. Uta-chin asked if he was looking cute. Mizuki got frustrated listening to that. She asked her if it was something most important to be concerned about. She covered herself by saying that these kinds of things happen sometimes. Mizuki Asuka denied that it wasn't supposed to happen. She asked Uta-chin if there was such a thing when she woke up in the morning her father had become her mother. She answered that she didn't have a father. Mizuki pondered and said it might be possible. She said that there was something about a second-year classroom, but still she was confused how it could happen. Uta-chin then suggested to visit him and have a look at him as they were free then. Both girls went to see him, and they saw that he was having fun with boys. Mizuki said that as he was surrounded by men, she couldn't say that he was cheating, as it feels strange to call it a cheating thing after all. Sojiro said that it was fun watching people rejoiced or despaired over everything he had said. Mizuki-senpai asked him if he was a catfish, which meant he hadn't actually turned into a woman, but just pretending to be. She looked back toward the boys and asked if they were fine with it. He was a former guy. There was some sort of a creature there who said that there was nothing to be ashamed of, and it was so bad that everyone was hiding their face. Mizuki asked Sojiro Sakagami if he wasn't a woman inside, and then he dragged him as it was bad and not safe there. That creature yelled that it forgot to tell something and said that person was her man, and from then, nobody was allowed to touch him casually, and it was made to stay beside him all the time. It warned them if he turned back to man, it would kill him. Tsukimi was looking at all that, and said if it was possible to let her be a woman and enjoy the pleasure of being a woman until tomorrow. Mizuki said if this would continue, her boyfriend would be raped. Uta-chin was wondering about her figure. Sojiro felt it more like a sexual harassment. Uta-chin said that she found it amazing how that happened, and she wanted to be a man for a day too. The girl then wondered that the manipulation of the body was Hinamiya's field, but the current Hinamiya family probably didn't have that much power, so they decided to examine every corner of his body, focusing on the change parts. Then Tsukimi examined each corner year of Sojiro's body. He himself wanted to know if there was something wrong in his body. After the examination, Mizuki said that she was fine whatever his gender was. Uta-chin was happy with his examination as well. Tsukimi shut them up. After the examination, she told her she didn't know the details, but she think it would be curled if the doctor sucked it out. Until then, they were supposed to wait, and if it didn't get out, they would have to ask Sensei about it. Sojiro asked what to do till next. She told him to have fun. She kept on thinking who else could do that besides Hinamiya. The girls then decided that they should put a lot of makeup on him and then go out and have a lot of fun. Henja was thinking that she should have killed him and kept laughing, but then she thought that the boy was really useful after all, to think that she could, once I really keep an eye on the movement of Tsukimi's young one, and the power of the rare water species were sealed away. Suddenly she found Neko-chan turned into some other creature. She was surprised and understood that it was a pain to get involved with Sakami. Next day, Sojiro Sakagami's body turned into normal, and he said that he thought it would be nice to be a girl sometimes. Sojiro told Mizuki in the end the good weather was good. She replied that she didn't know he entered into a room and found it was only one chair, and Mizuki told him that she had her own chair so he could sit down. Then Sojiro sat down and Mizuki forcibly sat into his lap. He asked her if he could pet her head, and she allowed him to do so, and then he asked her if her breasts were feeling stiff. She answered, they did. Uta-chin was looking at them through the corner of the wall. She thought that he was massaging her. She found it boring, but still, she intervened and said that she wanted a massage too. He refused to do so. She got too frustrated that she called up Tajima, who was in the same class, but she hadn't talked to him that much. She bluntly asked him to give her a massage. He refused to do so. She thought if she was not that much attractive. Mizuki taunted her that she had a gloomy face and had a bad personality, and her hair accessories that were gross. In all that scenario, Sojiro got high, and Mizuki was so proud of it. Sojiro asked 414 misses. As he couldn't hide it, he thought it was his only disadvantage in his everyday life. But there were also people who found it attractive. Uta-chin and told them not to take their topic seriously. Suddenly, Mizuki-senpai got stuck in wall, and Sojiro said he guessed it was because of senpai's charm, that it was too strong. She yelled, but it was like being inside mommy's belly. Sojiro was pulling her out and asked her to be born. He started rubbing her so that she could come out. Uta-chin found it so stupid and crazy to do that. She asked Mizuki to ask someone else for help. Suddenly, she got reached some other world, and there she heard that they were using and to help her get out. Uta-chin looked at Eyeball and said this would help them to help her. He was surprised that she was resistant to paranormal phenomena. In the meantime, Mizuki got out of the wall. As soon as she came out of the world, she behaved like she didn't have any memory from that day. Sojiro asked her if she was okay. Suddenly, an eyeball called his hand, and he got forced toward the wall. It was looking like he was being intimated with the school wall. as the concrete wall got holes in it because of him. He was yelling for the help when a few girls entered, asking if it was fortune-telling club. They saw him in that position and started abusing him and then left. Sojiro stepping forward by saying "Nihon hon." He was going forward and he slipped. There he saw a girl sitting on the floor. He apologized to her and asked her if she got injured. She answered that she was fine. He was glad that he was fine, and then he thought that Mizuki senpai was surprisingly small. But that girl was even smaller, and he was glad that he didn't accidentally slip on her and crushed her. The girl recognized her as Rin's brother. The other girl introduced herself as Amachi-san. He thanked her for getting along with the Rin. She answered that it was her pleasure. He asked her how her sixth son was awakened after Tsukimi-sensei did all sorts of things to her. She answered that her sixth sense wasn't as bad as the Tsukumi. The earlier girl returned back while smiling and asked if he was Rin's Oni-chan. She introduced herself as Nagi. Amachi noticed that Nagi was blushing and using very polite language, and it was the premonition of love. Sojiro thought that girl at first glance seemed like she was giving a friendly gesture, but then she was pinching him so hard. There was no deep smile in her eyes, thinking that he hated him so much that she was pinching him. He finally spoke up and said that it was hurting him a lot and asked her to step away. She said that he was a man, how could he be hurt? Sojiro then composed himself and said that was why he didn't get hurt. Then he requested Amachi to take her away. Amachi then convinced Nagi to go away. Sojiro was surprised by Amachi, that she was so amazing that she didn't look like junior of him. Nagi kept on pinching him so that he got frustrated and said it not to touch him. She got frightened to hear that and asked him what was wrong. He yelled that he was going to stomp her to death. Maggie said that he was breathing and requested him to take his tongue out. And then she placed a bandage on his arm where she had pinched earlier. So you kept on thinking that there must be some kind of misunderstanding, that he couldn't believe that he was trying to kill such a kind child. She again told him to stick his tongue out. Confusingly, he did so, and she at once kissed him. Amachi told her not to do so, but she kept on doing that. She bluntly said that she would lose anything for a guy like him. Sojiro ran towards Mizuki-senpai to tell her that his wrist got pinched and tongue got hurt because of Nagi. She was surprised that he was hurt by a little girl. Then she asked him to stick his tongue out, and then she kissed him. Later, she told him to stretch his wrist too. He did so. She licked it, and it got healed. It was because her saliva contained healing properties. Sojiro told her that he was feeling as if he was pregnant. She decided to take him away to get some nutrition. Sakura appeared in an unsightly appearance, and she was sorry about that. She borrowed the bath without permission, because Asuka burned everything she had except this, and the water supply was cut off, and all she could eat that month was dirt and weed. She couldn't afford to buy clothes, because she would have to spend that whole month without pants on. Sojiro was yelling as the whole floor was completely soaked. He told Sakuya that if he did something like that at home, Rin would tie his balls into the butterfly knot. She responded foolishly that she didn't have balls. He asked her to wipe herself, as she was soaking the floor. He thought that woman was a total wreck in her daily life. Suddenly, Senpai entered and asked what they were doing. Sojiro told her that the woman made the floor wet. She yelled at Sakuya for wetting the floor. Sojiro said it was a sin that she wouldn't be able to cover with her sex appeal. She suggested to hang her beside the river. She was a sacrifice, and she should be offered to the river of God. She tried to put makeup on her so that she could look better for the sake of a sacrifice. Mizuki brought in dress and said that she bought this on a man, but it was too tight around the just, so she couldn't wear it, so it was specially given to her. She asked if she was getting that because of her birthday. Asuka then told her that she was trying to tidy her up before she sacrificed. They took her to a birthday store to buy the 28th of February birthday candles. So Zero said that he was there, that he still had one in the stock by chance. The circle said she was looking forward to the next February 28th. Sergio told her that she was not going to get sacrificed after this. She requested that she didn't want to be sacrificed. On the way, Henja yelled at Tsukimi. She asked her if she was collecting materials for her house and told her that it was looking funny. She asked her whether she should send her New Year card under the bridge. Henja told her it was all her fault. She responded that she was in a good mood, so she was letting her go and set her to go out of her side quickly. Sajiro and Mizuki were busy talking when Tsukimi called upon them and said they could sacrifice Henja instead of her. Sajiro then answered that they wouldn't sacrifice a thing like that. Tsukimi lifted that creature and said that she was going to sacrifice that creature to the river before leaving. Then said it was okay and warned her not to get the floor soaked next time. Then Tsukimi left. Sajiro and Senpai started talking to each other. Sajiro said that day turned out to be a strange date. Senpai responded that they should think of the plans of going on a date. So she forgot that Sakuya came, trying to ask her if she could use her bath. She also said that it looked like Sakuya was having fun, and then she offered him to go and just have some relaxation at home later with her. In the meantime, Mizuki asked him if he didn't say that he was going to get a part-time job. He replied that he was thinking about working part-time at the birthday shop they were at earlier. Senpai said that he could buy her a meal with his first paycheck. We asked what her favorite food was. She answered that she liked a sandwich from the convenience store. He found it quite unusual, and they reached home eventually. When they got home, they found that the floor got soaked again, and it was an unforgivable bill act of a barbarism, and finally they tied her up and took her to the river again for the sake of a sacrifice. Sajiro horse breastfeed when Rain entered and showed him something in her hand. She told him to take this. He asked what was that. She replied it didn't really work well, but it was actually a hypnosis app that was becoming very properly among the people. He thought it was a scenario behind his erotic mansa, and he decided to join that too. He called Rin a girl who loved her elder brother. He did something and told Rin that the app was working. Rin was still standing there, and he asked her if it was anything else she wanted to say. She requested him not to put his socks in the basket. While looking at that app, he said it was already suspicious when it came from advertisements from the app, far from reality. Rin said that she was hungry. Sajiro lifted that eyeball and started to think if it was really working. A girl was going when Sajiro asked her to wait. He started to running behind her. She was so scared, but she started to cry. But Sajiro got a hold of him. She was yelling and abusing him and asked him to let go of her. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Mizuki came and started to pull the hair of Sajiro and ask him what he was doing. He answered that he was told to be a beast. Mizuki then placed aluminum foil on his head. He at once became normal. That girl told Mizuki that she was trying to rape her. Sajiro affirmed her statement by saying that it was because of the app. That girl showed the same app to him and asked if he was talking about that type. And she told him apparently one couldn't force someone to do something they didn't really want to do. Then Mizuki asked him if he wanted to be a beast in actual. She further told him there was no such thing as hypnosis. Sajiro said no, and reminded her that Tsukimi did something familiar. Mizuki answered that she didn't think of Sakuya as classified homo saipan. She never heard or seen her go to the toilet, and she probably won't die as well. He wondered what kind of human she was. The girl said that she was leaving then. Mizuki learnt that that girl was the person at the middle school. Her name was Satosane Satori, and she definitely heard psychic powers. She got attentive to Sajiro and asked him the girl's face looked like a woman from his past. She also told him that she used to get jealous very easily. Sajiro found it so cute. He told her that he had a part-time job as well, and he was going home first, and he was not able to make that. She asked him if he had gotten hired at a birthday shop. She advised him not to be distracted by any strange girl at his part-time job. He told her that he would let a guy pull him out, but not a girl. He hugged her and then left. He entered there and said that he was Sakagami, and he will be in their care from that downwards. There was a man who thanked him and told him to change his clothes quickly. He said that his job was easy, and he was grateful to the kind man for allowing him to operate safely. He told them he would have to pay fees and buy from people who want to sell birthdays, and he would handle the complicated stuff. He further told him that his part-time was just to stay there. If a customer came, he would have to let him know, and if the police came, he would tell them he was just looking after the shop. Sajiro said that it was definitely a safe, square, and clean workplace, even for the beginners. That men continue that if he wanted to know more about his job, then he should ask his senior part-time worker. Then he said to a single girl to help Sajiro, or to learn all the things. That girl was surprised to see him there. She told him it was a pleasant surprise meeting him there. He asked him who she was. She told him that she was his ex-girlfriend. He answered that he didn't know her and said that she must be some sort of a scammer. In the meantime, the girl whose name was Satori was told to take good care of the new guy.